Good morning, good morning, good morning. I said it 3 times because it's Friday. Oh no, it's actually Thursday, but it's our Friday and we're not rubbing it in. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for joining us. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Samuel Njoroge. In just a few, I'll be letting you know what is happening in the dailies. My paper today will be The Star. It has a very interesting headline, and this is something we'll be talking about in just a short while. But karibu sana to The Only Way to Start Your Day. I don't do this alone. I'm usually in the company of not one, not two, but 3 ladies. Nata Siringi. Amanyajire.
I don't know if that is a call to just, show how unique Sam is. Given that this morning we're going to be talking about empowerment and focusing on equitable empowerment. Does it exist? On hashtag KBC Kids Talk. Or does the boy child feel that policies have left him out? Since that particular convention that women had in Benin, it has all been focused to empower the woman. But as Sam had said off the cuff, he said, unfortunately, empowerment is over and not empowerment 2. What do you feel? That is what we're going to be asking in not too long. Remember, we are live on our website. It's www.kbc.co.ke. Give us your feedback. Are you with Sam in regard to that particular, what he thinks, sentiments he has over the issue of empowerment, and if indeed equitable empowerment exists? I'm Regina Manyara, glad to have you on board this Thursday. As we say, Thursdays are our new Friday, and that's why we're all easy and chilled, as you've seen there. 2 of us got a memo to do baby pink and black, while the rest of the crew are in black and gray. Now, choose your sides. Is it baby pink and black, or is it gray and black? Choice is yours.
Gray and black. Gray and black.
Hey.
Sam, you are clearly a ladies' man.
Crazy. I am.
You are clearly a ladies' man. At work, surrounded by 4 ladies this early in the morning.
You know?
Empowerment to you.
And it's just 7 a.m.
And it's just 7 a.m., 3 minutes past the hour, man.
You know what I'm saying?
It's bound to be a good day. And you were not wrong to say it's Friday. I mean, not rubbing it in, but Thursday is our new Friday here on Good Morning Kenya. We get to shut the week down, and we do it, and of course, embracing what our children think. And that is a conversation you definitely don't want to miss out on. This whole question of empowerment, do even our kids understand what empowerment is? Have we twisted the meaning of empowerment to our kids? Because we are saying... and of course, and I'm sure you have seen a video circulating somewhere of a child who seems to be more of entitled than empowered over the opposite gender. So that is the question we're going to be seeking to answer today, but that is what will be coming in at the KBC Kids Talk conversation. But in the meantime, we are going to be having a look at the papers this morning, and we welcome you to share your thoughts with us. The headlines today are all about what is happening in the political arena, but you can be in touch with us. Let us know what you think about all that is happening when it comes to the political scene, issues to do with our children. Of course, we are absolutely welcoming you to be part of that conversation using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Good morning. And the other hashtag is KBC Kids Talk.
Yes.
Absolutely. As well as at KBC Channel 1, at Sam W. Njoroge, at Raymond Yara, at Doreen Arange, and at Jane Wamboy. Those are our individual handles. Do stay with us. In the headlines starts in a few.
Straight on now to the headlines. The Star is my paper this morning, and the headline is all about the death of former Makueni senator, that is Mutula Kilonzo, describing it as a cold case. All right, here you go. This is the front page of the Star this morning, and this is the son. This one right here is the son to Mutula Kilonzo. This is Senator now, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., and he says how they killed my father. Recounting this particular story, it is quite a story because I've taken time to read it this morning. It's in the Star, how they killed my father, and Senator speaks about his dad's death and why his killers may never be found. So that is the top story with the Star this morning. And other stories that have been highlighted by this daily, it's all about the Formula impasse where bribery claims rock Senate in revenue standoff. We'll also be taking a look at a 7 years on twin Busia boy. Hussein Athri still missing, and the family is hopeful. And also that case is related to another gentleman still who disappeared way back. That is Caesar. He used to be a musician. And also board county deputy governors earn hefty pay for doing nothing. And that is an opinion written on page 8 of the Star. The big read is about Busia girls now with art of educating public on COVID-19. Well, we've got an opinion piece by Wycliffe Muga. Do you think Deputy President William Ruto can win the presidency in 2022? That's the Star for you in a nutshell this Thursday morning.
Now focusing on the Standard on this 20th day of 2020. That question there that has been picked, or rather captured there by the Star, can Deputy President indeed reign, or rather be the victor come 2022? Front page of the Standard this morning, the Spectator. Big office, no power. For months, he dismissed reports that he was a stranger in government, but now Deputy President William Ruto generously shares his frustrations on social media and at tea parties at his residence. Further on, he is quoted below there, "I am aware, and it is obvious that there is a huge scheme that has been orchestrated to demean and destroy my office and to ensure that I do not get anywhere. Threats and schemes will not work. I know this is not all they have. They still have plans against me, but I am ready for it." That is what is said on the 11th of August 2020. And on the 18th of the same month, which happens to be August, is that abuse of police and criminal justice to bully citizens, threaten and intimidate leaders, and now blackmailing Senate is wrong, very wrong. It is not the reason millions woke up early to vote for us. Deputy President there, William Ruto. Big office, no power. That's what we have captured on the front page of the Standard this morning. As well as, senators meeting Matiang'i. They had summoned him to just explain, the arrest of 3 senators ahead of that particular debate that was, marred with a lot of drama as well as speculation. But even as they said that they wanted to have the CS, Matiang'i, that is Interior Cabinet Secretary, appear in front of them and just answer to this question, when that time came, they folded, they tucked their tails and gave him a standing ovation of sorts. We'll be giving you details in regard to that and so much more.
Now, let's have a look at the front page of the Daily Nation, still in line with what is happening on the Standard. And a part of what is happening on the Star this morning, Ruto is ready for the polls, but who will he partner with? That is the big question there. It says that Waiguru, Mudavadi and Jumwa had been touted as running mates, but he is keen to ensure that his first stab at the presidency is successful, and Deputy President William Ruto's team is seeking a person who commands a large political constituency. But who will it be? That is the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation. And on matters concerning the Health Ministry and COVID-19 is that the ministry is limping to COVID-19 peak as reagents run out, with the country weeks away from the projected 450,000 positive cases. The state labs are running on empty. More details about that coming in not too long. And on matters concerning ex-MP Mungatana, there has been fraud in regards to the fraud case, and it says that the magistrate told off the former assistant minister and his co-accused that there will not be an out-of-court deal for him. Now, when it comes to community learning, of course, it did fail to take off as was expected, but now it is said that there is hope for community learning. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We'll be giving you more details about that. And also, there is an opinion piece here, the landlord-tenant relationship. What information you as a tenant need to know before you occupy any house, and what you as a landlord need to know before you hand over the keys to your home. All that and much more coming up in not too long.
Now, even as we continue looking at the headlines this morning, COVID-19 has been hitting the headlines since March this year. And now, as per the Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Health, that is Dr. Mwagangi, experts now are considering the use of plasma to treat COVID-19. Now, as it has been, we've recorded quite a number of cases that have recovered. And as research has shown elsewhere, there could be some evidence emerging that plasma of those who've recovered from COVID-19 can be used to treat patients with mild conditions or a mild condition of COVID-19. And that is the angle that the National Emergency Response Committee on COVID-19 is currently pursuing, courtesy of Dr. Mercy Mwagangi. She's right here on page 2 of the Star, and this story, you will read it in earnest. It ties in the fact that a vaccine is almost here because phase 3 is underway, and Kenya is one of those countries that have been selected to benefit from this particular vaccine that will be costing you around 600 Kenya shillings. That is 300 per dose, because you need 2 of those. So now that is the story that the Star, or the angle that the Star has given in as far as coverage of COVID-19 is concerned. Again, local researchers now are to study how to use the blood of someone who's recovered from COVID-19 to treat those who have the condition but mildly.
Now, still keeping up on matters covered, remember that, there's been a lot of debate, especially that after that expose that was run by some media outlet that indicated that there are some unscrupulous people, both in government and also within the private sector, that have made billions out of this current pandemic. There's been question on social media if indeed there is a correlation with the reduced number of COVID cases announced yesterday by the Ministry of Health to that particular expose. But that comes at a time, we know, when Kenyans, especially our government, is also considering to just, get back to contact tracing. Remember that had stopped with just the Ministry of Health saying that they are not going to be doing that particular issue of contact tracing. However, now with after 19 died yesterday of the virus, the ministry is rethinking contact tracing. Now, it has said that during the daily coronavirus briefing was yesterday, Chief Administrative Secretary Mercy Mwagangi said the latest death was recorded within the community. And she noted that 18 of the patients had underlying health conditions, including a 28-year-old who was diabetic. Now, going forward, is that they say that in the initial days of COVID-19 outbreak in the countries, cases were imported and it was easy to contact trace, but that has changed. She said now counties are reassessing their contact tracing approach by not focusing on a whole community, but on people who are vulnerable and susceptible.
Now, looking at what has been covered in regards to COVID-19 on the Daily Nation, this is the setbacks that the ministry and all the other health facilities are facing in the fight against COVID-19, and mostly when it comes to the testing, a bit of it. But looking at contact tracing, which is crucial in testing, has been poor despite the rising caseload in the country. Now, drawback as test kits shortage hits efforts to slam brakes on the virus. That is the main headline on this particular story here as we get into the paper. And as Kenya, of course, inches to the estimated 450,000 positive cases by end of September, the state labs are said to be running on empty, and there is an acute shortage of testing reagents, and contact tracing will still remain to be one of the biggest challenges that they are facing. Now, it is said that the government has made just about every possible mistake in handling the pandemic and is now doing under 5,000 tests a day, despite spending over 1.8 billion Kenya shillings on reagents, and about 400,000 samples have so far been tested, with over 30,000 turning positive. Now, according to what the Daily Nation had established, is that the National Influenza Lab and Kenyatta National Hospital have a backlog of unprocessed samples due to the shortage that has been caused by the worldwide race to acquire these testing kits. And according to the senior official at the National Influenza Lab, he said that we've had a shortage for some time, and Kenyatta National Hospital, along with other government labs, cannot conduct the tests. and he attributed the shortage to especially when it comes to the automated kits, and say that, you know, the test is free in state facilities, but private labs charge between 8,700 to 10,000 for this test. But they're hoping to flatten this curve, and this whole issue of shortage should be addressed in the coming week. They're going to sort out this shortage in the next week.
Now, still keeping up with stories making headlines within the health sector is that the public health services in Homa Bay County have been paralyzed for a third day after healthcare workers down to their tools, demanding their unpaid salaries and a better working environment. Now, as our reporter Ruth Wamboy compiled this particular report, is that also the medics are lamenting about the insufficient supply of personal protective equipment, which they claim is exposing them to the dangers of COVID-19.
The best thing that the county government could do is to pay us our salaries and all that is due to us. It is unfortunate that all these workers you see here do not even have NHIF cover.
The ICU they are talking about is a scarecrow. The blood bank they are talking about is a scarecrow. The oxygen plant is just there in words. The bed capacities they are talking about, we are wondering which country are they?
Even if we will finish this salary parade and go back to work because of payment of salaries, we must still have a talk on our safety as health workers to continue working in the COVID pandemic.
Now, moving on to other stories covered by the Star this morning. Now, bribery claims rock Senate in revenue sharing formula standoff. That is the angle given by this particular daily when it comes to the impasse surrounding the formula sharing, and some of the counties reportedly contributed 10 million Kenya shillings to secure the support of at least 6 senators in rejecting the proposal. A senior government official added 50 million Kenya shillings to it, making it 60 million. And now it appears that there could be more than meets the eye when it comes to the debate on the floor of the Senate on how counties are going to get funds for the financial year 2020-2021. Already we know that there is a 12-member committee that is supposed to sit and give Senate the guidance it requires ahead of Tuesday's sitting. So this remains to be a developing story, but the Star this morning concentrates on the fact that fraud now could be an angle to pursue when it comes to coverage of the formula sharing and the debate therein on the floor of the Senate. How true could this be? Well, EACC, it appears your in-tray just got an entry.
Now, still keeping up with what is happening in as far as that particular stalemate is that, the Senate Mediation Committee yesterday held its first sitting in a bid to unlock the impasse and the revenue sharing formula. This is a 12-member committee that included John Sakaja of Nairobi and Moses Wetangula of Bungoma, and the proceedings kicked off and considering the amendments before the House. Now, according to the standard here, is that 2 sittings were held yesterday, and they received a presentation by the Parliamentary Budget Office on the proposal by the Commission on Revenue Allocation and the Finance Committee amendment. Now, the proposals on the table also included one minority leader, James Orengo, and nominated Senators Petronila Were and Kimani Wamatangi. Now, the committee has 3 days to consider the proposals and thereafter agree on the way forward. At the same time, the Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Fred Matiang'i, yesterday appeared before the Senate National Security Committee to explain the circumstances that led to the arrest of 3 senators on Monday. Kenyans woke up to quite a storm in the political scene, with some senators being said that this was just a way to just reduce the numbers to those who are opposed to that particular proposal, because given the last sitting, the 8th time that the Senate had met, that particular populist proposal by government was just garnered 23 votes against 25, and now these 3 that were arrested on Monday were not able to vote. There's been that issue, rather that theory that was what exactly was happening, and consequently, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i yesterday was appearing before the Senate National Security Committee to explain the circumstances under which the three senators were arrested on Monday. Now, according to Edward Kabersa, the meeting was also attended by Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai and the Director of Criminal Investigations George Kinoti. However, it was closed to the public and the media, and Matiang'i was summoned by the Senate following an outcry by lawmakers that the arrest of the three senators was meant to freeze them out of the vote on the contentious division of revenue formula. The newspaper this morning has a divergent view and says that inasmuch as senators called the Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i to appear before them and explain the manner in which why these three were arrested, is that it turned to them saying that they appreciate what he's currently doing. It was kind of a red carpet instead of the hot spot kind of reception there for Matiang'i, because when he showed up, the senators fell over themselves to thank him for his diligence and supporting their work. Here is Edward Kabasa with the details of yesterday's meeting.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai, and the Director of Criminal Investigations George Kinoti were on Wednesday summoned by the Senate to explain Monday's arrest of three lawmakers. The media was, however, barred from the meeting, whose report is expected to be tabled in the Senate next week. Senators have alleged that the arrest of the three legislators was an engineered move to deny them the right to vote on the contentious third basis for revenue sharing among the county governments.
I want to tell these people there is no need of all this.
Bomet Senator Christopher Langat, Samburu's Stephen Lelegwe, and Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala were arrested by police in a dramatic fashion on Monday.
To subvert the, Mr. Speaker, sovereign right of the people of Kenya under Article 1 of the Constitution that was donated to Senator Malala, Senator Langat, Senator Lelegwe, to come and exercise on the floor of this House. And for any colleague in this House to support that process, Mr. Speaker, it will be a pity.
The arrest of the three lawmakers was met with protests both in the Senate and Mumias, as well as condemnation by the Deputy President and ODM Chief Raila Odinga. The senators, who are currently on recess, are at the moment engaged in negotiations aimed at formulating a win-win formula.
So we really would want to encourage our Senate, ili sasa ikifika next week, Tuesday, wawe na solution ili tupate pesa tuweze kulipa mishahara.
Governor James Nyoro said service delivery in counties risk grinding to a halt and that county preparedness was highly dependent on timely disbursement of budgetary allocation to the devolved units.
All right, before we get to Storia Mungatana, let's have a look at what is happening in the political field here in Kenya. And the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation in regards to Deputy President William Ruto seeking a running mate. Now here it says Ruto's running mate headache as allies maintain a low profile, as his campaign team is now seeking a person who they consider strong enough to run for the top post and has a national-wide appeal. So the deputy president and his campaign advisors are racking the brains on who to pick when it comes to his running mate with the national, of course, someone who has the national appeal and the number of votes likely to be brought to the table among their top considerations. Now, they say that they are keen to ensure that his first stab at presidency is successful. And according to what the nation has to say, I found out is that the team is seeking a person who is strong enough to run for the top office. Now, another crucial decision that the team is grappling with is said to be, a party that they're going to be using for the presidential race because, they have lost national influence. Now, DP Ruto was initially said to be keen on a running mate from the Mount Kenya region or Western, but his targets have since decamped and lost national influence or fallen out. And according to the DP's Technical Advisory Committee, he has already given his opinion on possible candidates, including former Kakamega, and according to former Kakamega Senator Boni Kalole, he said that negotiations and consultations were underway, but they are yet to name a name because they are trying to dismantle ethnic mobilization and are going to choose to drive a national agenda, and a region of birth for the suitable candidate is not a strength. And so far, the position has not yet been offered to anyone. Now, in Mount Kenya, they are looking at Kirinyaga governor, that is Anne Waiguru. Her name has been fronted, and in Western, the DP is said to be eyeing Amani National Congress chair, that is Musalia Mudavadi.
Now, just to keep up with what is happening with Deputy President William Ruto there, he is on the front page of the Standard this morning as the Spectator. Big office and no power. For months, he has dismissed reports that he was a stranger in government, but now Deputy President William Ruto generously shares his frustrations on social media and at tea parties at his residence. Now, some details in regard to a story that has been captured on the Standard this morning is that powerless Deputy President turns to charity and hosting religious groups to keep busy after being edged out of power by the combined force of Uhuru and Raila. Do you believe so? Or is the local political scene underestimating Deputy President William Ruto, who we understand was a political student of the former President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi? What's your take? Remember, this is a live broadcast. We value your feedback. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News.
Now let's move on to the Star and talk about a very good story. And the reason I call it good is because Kazim Tani in Naivasha has apparently contributed to 80% drop in petty crimes in that particular town. And you know, Naivasha is unique. Why is it unique? It has been hit hard by COVID-19 because hotels have shut down, tourism is not exactly doing very well, and it has quite a number of flower farms. Now, all these youth who are employed in these sectors had to go home, leading to an increase in petty crimes in Naivasha, I beg your pardon. However, 2 months down the line, according to the Naivasha Sub-County Commissioner, that is Matthieu Yambogo, it's apparent now that there's an 80% drop of petty crimes in Naivasha that has been directly attributed to awarding 3,600 young people from informal settlements employment through the Kazi Mtaani initiative. So there you have it. Quite a breath of fresh air, I believe, Jane.
Well, as that is matters concerning the security area. But let's move on to what is happening in matters concerning the court and the justice system here. In one of the stories that is on the front page of the Daily Nation as well, is that there is a no out-of-court deal for ex-MP. Now, the magistrate says fraud is a matter of public interest in which the state also has a stake. So the former Garsen MP and his co-accused of the 70 million fake military food supply tender, that is Mr. Paul Collins, have lost their bid to strike an out-of-court settlement with the victims of the fraud. The two wanted an out-of-court settlement, and they wanted the court to allow them to go with this direction. But the prosecution has lined up at least 8 witnesses, and using the alternative dispute resolution mechanism is not going to be considered. Now, when it comes to withdrawing all the charges, they wanted a plea taking deferred to allow for negotiations, arguing that the justice is more than the court convicting and sentencing the accused. But according to Kibera Chief Magistrate, that is Abdukadir Lorot, he declined the request, saying that the case involves public interest, and deferring plea taking will not achieve a meaningful purpose, not just for the victims of the case, but also for the state.
Now, with that regard of what is happening across, different areas, how about now we cross over to the other side and also focus on other stories that have been making headlines in the corridors of justice, where the fraud case against a former Garsen MP, Danson Mungatana, and his business associate, Collins Wawero, will continue to full trial after a Kibera Chief Magistrate, Abdul Kadir Lorot, rejected a bid by the two to settle the matter out of court. Our reporter Ben Troenjoy compiled the following report on what has been happening on the corridors of justice.
Former Garsen MP Danson Mungatana and his associate Collins Waweru will now answer to 15 fraud charges after the court dismissed an application to allow the two settle the matter with the plaintiffs out of court. Despite an application by their lawyers, Kibera Chief Magistrate Abdikadir Lorot ruled that the state was also a complainant in the case.
Article 157 of the Constitution, that the Director of Public Prosecution is granted exclusive powers to prosecute, and in the discharge of that mandate and function, the DPP acts without direction or control from any quarters.
According to the charge sheet, the accused on diverse dates between July the 13th and August 11, 2020, conspired to defraud and obtain 930,000 shillings from Anne Wairimu Thumi by pretending they could assist her win a tender of 70 million shillings to supply food and construction materials to the Department of Defense. They are also facing charges of issuing fake documents purporting to be genuine letters of acknowledgement for expression of interest from the Ministry of Defense. Elsewhere, a police officer has been charged with stealing shoes from the Kenya Police Service store. It is alleged that Dennis Onyango broke into the store and stole 1,826 pairs of men's ankle-high boots and 398 pairs of ladies' ankle-high boots valued at 6,454,342 million shillings. He was released on a cash bail of 300,000 shillings with the case set for mention on September the 10th, 2020. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troy-Njue.
Now, if you're a fan of cashew nuts like I am, then this story will definitely catch your fancy this Thursday. Now, state targets 100,000 farmers a year in cashew nut production boost. And the principal secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture says many still grow 40-year-old trees, hence the poor harvest. And if you've been noticing keenly, is that there's been a decline when it comes to the supply of cashew nuts in the country, especially the better part of last year moving into this year. And now to arrest this, Agriculture PS Hamadi Boga says that the low yields that have been attributed to old trees will be a thing of the past, as the state now targets 100,000 farmers a year in cashew nut production boost. Quite a good story there, and we'll see how this pans out within the course of time.
Now, let's get to the back page of the Daily Nation, and this is in regards to the education sector, as some parents are very apprehensive that the plan could expose their children to coronavirus, and this is all about community-based learning. So TSC has so far registered 224,494 teachers for the community learning program, and it is said that they're going to be tutoring and from the community, and of course this is going to be taking place soon, but the ministry is yet to give clear guidelines on how lessons will be carried out. But so far, 67% of the 318 teachers that the commission has employed have been registered. The remaining 112,938 teachers are expected to register by tomorrow. However, poor coordination and communication have threatened to stall the project even before it takes off, as teachers, government administrators, and health officials have decried the lack of clear direction on how to execute this plan that is community-based learning. Now, little has been done to reassure Kenyans of the safety of their children, and this is why so many parents are apprehensive that this plan is going to expose their children to COVID-19, despite there are many concerns, there is yet to be given clear direction on how this is going to be going. But according to the Kenya National Parents Association, which has begun working on guidelines for the implementation of the program, they are hopeful that a clear way forward will be put out, and this of course involving the Nyumba Kumi officials, and they're called on to be responsible for the safety of the children, and that was according to Mr. Mayo who spoke yesterday.
Now, still keeping up with matters education, this comes at a time in regard to this community-based learning program. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, that is KUPPET, as well as Kenya Primary School Heads Association, KEPSHA, wants teachers' participation to be voluntary. At the same time, volunteers from faith-based organizations and community health workers have also been proposed to supplement teachers when the home-based teaching is rolled out. Now, our reporter Kamcha Menza indicates that, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has dismissed calls to reopen schools in September to enable Standard 8 and Form 4 candidates sit for the national examinations. However, the CS says that the decision to reopen schools has clarified that the decision to reopen schools in January 2021 is not cast on stone and can change subject to advice from experts. Here are the details.
Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha maintains schools will be reopened in January 2021 unless the head of state decides otherwise.
That answer and decision will be made only by one person who is elected by everybody, who will take the risk. Are we together here? Because he is fully in charge. If all the institutions are ready, do we then decide to open because people are saying so? His Excellency the President must then decide himself whether he can take the risk.
According to Professor Magoha, uncalculated plans to resume physical learning in schools will catalyze the spread of COVID-19 among children.
The right to life and the right to education, which one is more important? If the right to life is more important, then ignore all the noise and the hula balloons you are listening to. Because every Kenyan child has a right to live.
Yes.
If we are to open schools as before we are prepared, before the disease comes down and is controlled, a number of children are going to die. Whose children are these that you want to sacrifice?
The Cabinet Secretary urged Kenyans to support the community teaching initiative introduced by the government aimed at keeping learners productively engaged. Magoha spoke at the Siaya Institute of Technology in Siaya Town on Wednesday during a tour to gauge the preparedness of the institution for resumption of learning. Meanwhile, the Kenya Private Schools Association has partnered with Absa Bank to accelerate the adoption of virtual learning in private primary and secondary schools across the country. The initiative, dubbed Masomo Iendelee Linda Mwalimu, also aims at boosting the financial position and sustainability of schools, while at the same time cushioning teachers during the difficult economic times. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Right, let's now move to the counties, and a lot has been said about regions, for example, the central Kenya coast, a bit of Rift Valley. Let's take you now to northeastern, and now this is all about COVID-19. You're aware by now that Kenya hosts around 400,000 refugees, and out of these, 270,000 are in Dadaab, which happens to be in the northeastern region. And now Garissa is setting up a COVID-19 testing center within the Dadaab camp, and this is necessary because now the transmissions are increasingly becoming communal, and thus we cannot ignore the importance of having a testing center in a place like Dadaab, and that is precisely what the government wants to do, setting up a COVID-19 testing center in Dadaab. And this came out as the health cabinet, not cabinet secretary, but chief administrative secretary, that is Rashid Alman, together with Garissa Governor Ali Korane, received donations from IGAD worth 10 million Kenya shillings. Now, these particular donations are supposed to go to the Dadaab refugee camp to help that region cushion the spread of COVID-19 in the country. So that's an important story, capacity boosting there when it comes to the fight against coronavirus in the country.
Now let's have a look at what is happening on the county news pull-out segment of the Daily Nation, and we start with Nairobi County right here, where it is said that the state is set to revamp 7 parks in the city. So the government will rehabilitate 7 more green spaces in Nairobi County after the revamp of Mishuki Memorial Park. Now these are the Nairobi Arboretum, Karura Forest, City Park, Uhuru Park, Central Park, Jivanji Gardens and Ngong Road Forest. They're going to be rehabilitated and dubbed the Green Renaissance. Now City Park, which has for years been managed by the national Nairobi County government, was recently taken over by the by Kenya Forest Service, and President Uhuru Kenyatta decried mistakes of the past which made Nairobi lose its green status. Now, he was quoted saying that the government did not enforce the civic responsibility of the citizens to take care of green spaces, and residents of Nairobi were not organized enough to protect them. The rehabilitation of the 26-acre Mishuki Memorial Park began in April and, of course, was concluded just the other day with the official opening of the park. Now, let's move on to what is happening in Bungoma before we go to the Rift region. And in Bungoma, there is a petition the petition to remove governor was heard by the ward reps. So Bungoma County Assembly Public Administration and ICT Committee has concluded its first phase of hearing the impeachment over Governor Wycliffe Wangamati. So the petition was submitted to the House by Professor Nyakuri Barasa and Mr. Moses Lukoye, who are both members of the civil society, and they accused the Governor Wangamati of corruption, abuse of office, skewed hiring of workers, and a host of other misdeeds. Now, the Assembly would wound up the first phase of its sitting after the petitioners and the governor's lawyers, Henry Makaha and Cyril Wayongo, gave their submissions. Now, moving on to the Rift. Big Four agenda projects are stalling due to land disputes, among many other issues. So the strategic Big Four projects in the North Rift are, they haven't actually taken off, and they are in danger of stalling due to protected land disputes and lack of political goodwill. At least that is what is has been written here, with most of the housing, health, and food security projects are yet to be implemented, despite funding by the government already being issued. So the county administrators who were interviewed, they attributed the suspension of some of these projects to diversion of funds to the pandemic that is in the fight against COVID-19. And according to Nandi Governor Stephen Sang, he said that building 10,000 housing units is in limbo due to land disputes. And in as much as they are committed to this noble project, land wrangles remain an impediment in that region. And of course, this is mostly affecting the housing agenda.
Now, how a hot meal of crickets and worms is saving children's lives. Now, this is enriched porridge that has significantly reduced the high mortality rates in Kerio Valley. Now, one of them, these are things we are confronted with each and every week in Kerio Valley villages, as hundreds of mothers and congregate to receive enriched food following rampant severe cases of malnourishment among children, especially under the age of 5. So this particular enriched porridge is made up of crickets that are, crickets as well as warmed, dried, then they are crushed, then sieved and mixed with some flour to just, boost their health. Now, according to Dr. Caroline Kipkoech, from Jomo Kenyatta University and Technology, she came up with a greenhouse model through the World Vision to breed and rear edible insects to be used in enriching porridge for children. She further says that they wanted a sustainable way and effective way of alleviating malnutrition in the region. And within a week, she says locals had collected the insects already to be bred. That's a story on nutrition captured on the Standard this morning. You can get to read how, enriching your porridge there can ensure that your children get all the nutrients they require. And if you're squeamish about bugs, well, just know that these are crushed and mixed with some powder, so you really don't get to see the worms and the crickets, but they are an integral part of that flour that is preparing that particular porridge. Now, still focusing on stories making headlines in the counties, as prepared by Timothy Kipnusu, a lobby group calling itself Nairobi Accountability Forum has raised concern over the management of the city. Now, the representatives from the Youth Congress, Muungano wa Wanavijiji and Haki Jamii, claim the lack of transparency in the working relationship between the County of Nairobi and the Nairobi Metropolitan Service is undermining service delivery. Is it? Remember, we welcome your feedback. Let's get this report.
The Nairobi Accountability Forum is calling for public engagement on development issues, saying continued leadership wrangles will not help the people of Nairobi. The group is also rooting for an adoption of revenue sharing formula that will ensure marginalized counties get larger allocations.
We still have a lot of services that are lacking, and yet we have billions being spent in corruption.
Service delivery in Nairobi City County, just like in the other 46 counties, is likely to come to a halt. That is, if the division of revenue amongst counties, settlement in not urgently resolved.
Elsewhere, a group of youth from Kitui County who work at the County Textile Center are protesting the County Assembly's move to deny the factory funds. The workers claim members of the County Assembly have not allocated funds to the textile factory and its two proposed subsidiaries in Mwingi and Mutomo towns.
Kikotek wanalia. Kuna kampuni nyingine mama alikuwa anataka kuanzisha Mutomo. Kuna nyingine ilikuwa Mwingi. Kuna nyingine kwa Kirasha huko. Na yote mnapinga. Mnataka vijana tuibe ama mnataka kufanya nini?
In another development, residents of Garita village in Magarini sub-county of Kilifi County are opposing plans to set up a salt farm project on a 2,000-acre piece of land, terming it illegal and counterproductive. The locals who staged a demonstration to protest the move want the government to intervene, saying the investor was interfering with the local ecosystem by clearing the treasured mangrove forest.
Ripoti iliyotoka kwa National Lands Commission wakaweza kubaini waziwazi kwamba mwekezaji Munyu Salt alipata ardhi hii kinyume cha sheria.
And Geothermal Development Company has started drilling the third well at the Silari project in Baringo County after finalizing drilling of the second well. North Rift GDC Regional Director John Langat said the second well has started emitting steam and the discharge test is currently ongoing, paving for the construction of the third well in phase 1 of the Baringo Silali Geothermal Exploration Project.
During exploration, you'd actually, the success rate is normally 50%.
And the further we're opening up this place in terms of having these facilities, the infrastructure, the roads, and people getting exposed to formal employment is going to provide alternatives to cattle rustling.
In the meantime, Sokari industry in Homa Bay County is set to increase production capacity in a bid to boost the morale of sugarcane farmers. The move comes at a time when the company is experiencing overwhelming sugarcane supply.
We are having too much cane, which is beyond our crushing capacity. So for that reason, we have planned to do the expansion so that we can be able to meet the farmer demand.
Elsewhere, Bungoma County Governor Wycliffe Wafula Wangamati has called on the national government to give a solution to the water problem affecting residents of Bungoma County through tapping water from Mount Elgon. Wangamati said his government has already acquired a drilling machine which will enhance faster drilling of water for supply to various institutions within the county.
And as you all know, that level of investment, that level of infrastructure investment for a county is almost impossible. There's billions and billions of shillings. That's what we move forward.
Finally, the government will invest 3.8 billion shillings in linking the old meter gauge railway line with the standard gauge railway at Longonot in Naivasha. Defense Chief Administrative Secretary Peter Odoyo says the work, which is scheduled to be completed in 8 months, will also involve restoring the old railway line linking Nakuru to Malaba and Nakuru to Kisumu.
We are all together in this because no country can develop on the strength of lorry cargo. How many of your relatives have been killed by this lorry cargo?
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Now, in the interest of the fact that it's our Friday and it's your Thursday, right, we can take a comment piece by the Star. You've heard that joke, COVID-19 joke, that there's so many fools walking around. It's just that most of them are asymptomatic. Yeah. Well, there's this article that has been written by Felgona Oyuga, and it talks about a thin line between seduction and lies. And it's basically when you're in a relationship, when you're in a marriage, please differentiate between the two. And that story is on the Star. You'll be seeing it on your screen in just a short while. The thin line between seduction and lies. And you know, okay, we get it. It could be a game. But at what point do you differentiate that hapa ni game? Hapa sasa nimeanza kudanganya. And she tells the story of this gentleman who was dating a certain lady who, you know, apparently was lying to her that he's putting up a restaurant in one of the busy streets right here in Nairobi, only for the grandma to die, the lady's grandma to die, akaitwa Harambe, and then Charlie akachomwa 900 Kenya shillings, mtu anajenga restaurant. The thin line between seduction and lies, guys, in relationships and marriages. I wish I got the comment of my co-presenters here. Is this the point where I actually appreciate having three ladies on this show? Because they can, you know, demystify some of these things. And we've got two of them right there. That is Ray Manyara and Jane Wamboi. I don't know what you think about this story, ladies.
Oh, okay. Let me just say this. Well, Sam, yes, I agree. There's a very thin line between, you know, seduction and lies in any form of relationship. My view is that whenever you're getting into a new relationship, everyone tends to put their best foot forward. And those people who feel inadequate in one way or another to the person, especially you're meeting, you'd want to either dress better, you know, try and add up that twang. If you don't use deo, that day you go out using deo. You've heard of even cases, even people renting out vehicles to take that particular date, you know, out. And it's just a matter of, you know, self-preservation, I think. So we tend to put our best foot forward.
But best foot forward is relative here.
It is. It is relative, depending on the person you are targeting to, you know, convince to come, or, you know, to just have a relationship with you. Yes, and that's why the reason most experts, especially marriage counselors, say that you need to have this conversation about your expectations. What do you expect of your spouse? What do they expect of you? So that then, even before you actually commit to this union, you know, in this deal, I will be getting X, Y, Z, and I'm expected to give X, Y, Z. But we find that we never talk about our expectations because we are worried we are going to lose that person. And in the course of that particular relationship, you find that maybe your goals differ. Maybe you want to scale higher heights. This person is just comfortable living the life that you found, average.
Being a leech.
Yes, living average.
Ray is mincing her. She's trying to be polite on a Thursday
yes,
morning.
I'm trying to be
Angusha.
Okay.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I believe that there are people who add value to our lives.
Absolutely.
And there are people who drain us. So there are users, they're users in relationships, and there are those who nurture. So you find yourself in a situation where you have been used and abused to a point that
and misused
and you feel that you can't breathe. That's when you realize that, you know, everything that you have been believing and hoping for has all been a smokescreen, you know, camouflage for other deep-rooted issues.
And
then
it
that's
becomes
where,
very toxic.
Yes, it becomes toxic, and the worst thing I have come to learn is that it is very difficult. Actually, it is impossible to explain an emotion. Like today, if I was to be asked to explain love, I would find it very difficult to explain what love is, because my version of love may not be Jane's or you, Sam's version
like
of
this
love.
Of how
Love
do you
languages.
feel about me? I'm like, that is the most insecure question you have to deal with.
Sam,
you have to feel it.
How do you
I
feel
can't
about
put it
me?
in an email and CC everyone. You've got to have that experience.
But
And as you
yeah.
said, Regina, sometimes people go through a situation where you're used, abused, and misused to a point where when you encounter something real, you're not able even to identify it.
Not even
But you know,
identify, Sam.
Ukipendwa after that unaona kama ni favor unafanyiwa ama kama anayekupenda ni mjinga.
Not even that. You come to a state of total disbelief. Your self-value is so eroded that the person who comes into your life finds you at your lowest
Yeah.
you're very damaged, you're very insecure.
You settle for
and
anything.
you start asking yourself, I wish they had met me at this point because right now I even don't know if they're genuine enough. And these persons who come into your life at that point have to go extra, have to go extra, have to be more patient with you. Not because you were always insecure. It's because what you have gone through has made you so insecure about everything. Actually, it has made you a pessimist.
Regina,
in as far as relationships
Regina,
are concerned.
They don't do extra. Yeah, they just stop dating you and they start raising you.
Yeah, but also,
they stop
you know,
being a spouse and they become a parent.
Sam, we all have individual responsibilities when it comes to how we feel, yeah? But you find in most cases, as humans, we tend to communicate what we don't want as opposed to what we really want. You're all about, I don't like this, I don't want to be cheated on, I don't want to be hit, I don't want to be taken to you for granted, I don't want this, but you never say, I want this. We don't have that clear communication about what you really want, how you really want to be treated. It's about what you don't want. And at the end of the day, when you leave this part of what you want, not having clearly communicated it, you leave it to the other person to fill the gaps for you. And that brings me to also this whole conversation about love languages. First of all, there are said to be 5, yeah? Why is it that you have to pick 1 or 2 to be your love languages, and you are a human, you are not streamlined to operate on these 2 ways of doing things, as opposed to just looking at all these 5 love languages and seeing how to employ them and when to employ them.
And
I think we limit ourselves so much
and can
because
we speak ours?
we only
Do
have
they
to
need
stick
to be
to 2
5?
love languages.
We can come up with a 7th one or a 6th one.
We can
Do they
come up
have
with
to
a
really
cocktail.
Be 5?
Yes.
Yeah, and you don't have to be loved in only one way. In as much as one way might really speak to you the most, you are not just geared to that way of being being loved. You are a human. Of course you want to be given gifts. Of course you want quality time with your partner. You want words of affirmation. You want it's physical
into touch.
You know, you are, just because one speaks the most to you, it doesn't mean that you or your partner need to neglect the others because nikifocus on he. Nikifocus on he. Mimi na yeye, we are good.
Thank you for bringing up that topic.
This is so interesting. Yeah, I thought it would be refreshing for us to have,
absolutely
a moment like this on a Thursday morning, which happens to be a Friday because we're not here today. But just to sum it all up, is a quote by Cormac McCarthy, is one of my favorite, that I can tell how intelligent a man is by how stupid he thinks I am. All right?
Take that again. Take that again.
I can tell how intelligent a man is by how stupid he thinks I am. It's usually good to cut in across. Sibebo Fala. Right? I just had to say it plainly out there. It's important, guys. All right? Draw the line between seduction and lies and be real, as Regina is saying it. And you know what? 2 minutes to the top of the hour. It's time for that break, ladies.
Before we go to that break, as you try to draw that line between seduction and stupidity, or what?
Lies.
And lies.
Yes.
AKA stupidity.
Pia here.
Also, when you let me talk to my girls. My girl them. Okay, haha. We all have that one ex mwenye anakuchanganyanga.
Kaboom.
Ukisikia jina yake, you lose all your sense of control, sense of everything. All senses go out the window. But there's this quote that I came across, and I've been there, trust me, I know. I came across this piece that it says, when you finally get to a place where you know that missing that one person isn't a sign to try again, but it is a sign that we had something great, and that's it, and that's all. That's it, and that's all. Do not take that phone to call them.
Do not call them when you're drunk.
Wow. What's happening here?
What that was that.
Do we
Let
talk
it stay
about
there.
ile dem? Unajua pia sisi
Relationships
tunakuanga
are overrated and really so many issues underlooked, and we need to have this conversation, by the way. Tukae kama wanume watatu hapa.
But
Yeah,
you know, I
represent the
guess
women.
for us it's easier men because the emotional connection can be absent and we still, get the groove on, if you know what I'm saying.
Why is that?
But for ladies, for them to go out of their way to call you and keep you in touch, there's something much more than the physical, which is a threat to the future. Amen.
Kabisa. Women are emotional creatures, and we make our decisions with what we feel, not what we see or hear. So if you are not connecting with me emotionally, then
we are all emotional, but we choose to disregard
how about
that.
we take a short break? When we return, we're going to be talking about empowerment and indeed if equitable empowerment exists. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Wakati nilikuambia uachane na Pamela, ulienda kinyume na vile nilikuambia. Alafu kuna Wanjala, umesahau jukumu lako kwake.
I'll think about it.
You know Connor needs this.
I told you, I'll think about it.
You don't always have to be difficult when it comes to Anjala. It's getting old.
Next on
kama alivyosema Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam ni kuwa malaika Jibril alayhi salam aliwahi kumuhusia awe mwenye kuishi kwa uzuri na majirani zake kiasi cha kuwa akapata kufikiri kuwa wajirani zake watakuwa ni wenye kumridhi.
Alladhina yukadhibuna biyawmiddin ma yukadhibu bihi illa kullu mu'tadin athim.
On the next episode of
Mimi sikuja hapa kufundishwa mapishi bora.
Bingwa potea huyu. I lost. Sasa mtu mzima tena alivyokosa kabisa ni kunifanya mimi kama kijakazi wake. Yaani mimi siku nyingine napika chakula, yoje sema nini? Ati mara chakula hiki sikitaki, nipike kingine.
Sema tata huyu bwana. Haambiliki.
Nafikiri ametuelewa.
Hatujali kazi zenu
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Where can bullets go?
You thinking about that bullet that came through your window?
What's wrong? You all right?
I am angry all the time, and I don't know why.
Hands in plain sight, step out of the vehicle.
Honey, stay inside.
Man, don't walk up on me. I know this man. Get back.
You think you know who you are? You have no idea.
You had a conversation with God, huh? What did God say?
I didn't ask for your help, did I?
It's okay, Daddy. I'll protect you.
It's the sense of touch. I think we miss that touch so much that we crash into each other just so we can feel something.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Nimekuja leo kwa sababu ile simu ile. Uniambia nipeleke mtoto wako. Nipelekea mtoto wako.
Una hakika?
Niko na uhakika na kazi yangu boss.
Okay, sawa, kwa sababu sasa nataka tuanze kazi. Ondoka.
Kuna kijana yule
kweli
mwekundu hivi sijui shombe. Alizungumza masuala ya shamba. Alafu akamuita kando akaenda akamna kama ambaye pengine ataka
kabla haya mambo nayo hayo tu bila shaka.
Haya ngoja namuita sasa hivi.
Tena toko
Gaki, wawezaje kunituangia simu saa hii Gaki? Saa zile tu nimewekelea matoke yangu kwa meza. Niko tayari kukula, wewe ukikula kwako mimi ukusumbua. Gaki, hii simu sisiki yake ya nani? Mimi ukusumbua ukikula kwako. Basi wewe ngoja nimalize matoke yangu tena utanituangia.
Kupata matoke, bonyeza *811 *965 #. Bonyeza *811 *965 #.
5 minutes past 8 a.m. Time for a fast traffic click this morning. I want us to focus on Thika Superhighway simply because of the fact that that road is going to be closed for the next 5 days. And this is to necessitate the erection of that footbridge there around Garden City Mall. So let me just show you the images of some of the footbridges around Thika Superhighway. This is one of them. So far, Thika Road has about 18 footbridges. 4 have already been slated in, have been designated in different areas. There's one that was installed at Witivia area. There's one that is expected to be installed around Bangu area. There's one that is already still under installation. This is the one around Survey area, which resulted to a lot of heavy traffic buildup, especially sometime about 2 weeks ago. And there's one expected to be installed between 21st of this month to the 25th. That is from Friday to around Tuesday next week. So these are the 4 that have been earmarked in different areas, and this is just to ease on the traffic congestion as well as reducing the number of death cases, given the fact that this is one of those busy highways, and I keep giving the reasons as to why this is one of those busy roads. But before we go to these footbridges, let's just look at how traffic is doing like this morning, especially around that area where it's expected to be closed from 21st to 25th of this month of August to necessitate that installation of that footbridge there. This is around Garden City Mall, and this is the 4th area which has just been earmarked for those 4 footbridges. I've already told you that that at least 2 have already been installed. This is one, and then there's one that is also expected to be installed around Mangu area. So now, just coming from this is around Garden City Mall. As you head over to the city center, there was a bit of a traffic gridlock there around, specifically on the lane that is coming to the CBD. But clearly, as of now, there's none of that traffic just being witnessed on the inner lanes of this road. This is still, again, Thika Road. On the outer lanes, though, there's nothing really to say in terms of traffic. In fact, moving at a pretty fast pace. So obviously, if you're coming from around areas around Garden City, Kasarani, Mwiki, Roasters heading to the city center, this is clearly the best time for you to do that because there's no traffic at all, especially on this outer lanes. Traffic just being witnessed on the inner lanes. Now, again, it's very also important for me to mention that the Kenya National Highways authorities which are responsible for this footbridge installations also mentioned some alternative routes that those that apply this specific routes can use, especially in this 4 to 5 day period which this bridge is going to be installed. One of them is around just branching off at the Kasarani exit, coming all the way to Babadogo area and joining to Thika Superhighway via Outer Ring Road. That is one of the alternative routes that is expected to be used in this period of 4 days until this bridge is at least installed, or until to that point in which they expect to install it. But clearly, as of now, moving at a pretty fast pace. So just that was just ahead of for you that in the next couple of days we should really be expecting heavy traffic gridlock around or along this route. But in terms of traffic, again, nothing has really changed as of now. Traffic still on the inner lanes, on the outer lanes, no traffic at all, moving at a pretty fast pace. And this is specifically around the areas of Garden City Mall, coming through Blue Springs, next to the Roasters roundabout as you head over to the city center. That is just where traffic is being witnessed. In fact, the major parts of this road in this specific area moving at a really fast pace. And again, that's why I keep saying, if you're coming from these areas, clearly this is the best time for you to do that at 8 minutes past 8 a.m. And you can imagine there's barely any heavy traffic gridlock, especially around this area. So probably in the next couple of hours, we'll be seeing something totally different, given the fact that this is one of those busy roads. So again, the best time for you to leave your homes, if you're going about your businesses, the workstations, the city center, or even just around Thika Superhighway, this is clearly the best time for you to do that. I mean, if you're just around these areas that I have mentioned. But away from that, away from Roasters, past Kasarani, coming again to the city center, this is next to the GSU headquarters. Traffic actually even on those outer lanes. So in areas where there's just traffic on the inner lanes is around Garden City Mall, which is our focus this morning as you come to the city center. On this other side, traffic actually on both lanes, and this is interestingly because oftentimes we barely expect to see traffic on the lane that is leaving the city center in the early morning hour, but as of now on both lanes. And this is specifically past Garden City Mall, past Roasters, if you are coming to the city center. So again, but in as much as yes, there's a bit of traffic there, it's also unlike what you'd expect to see, especially along Thika Road, because oftentimes we just spot more of the maroon, the red, indicating that traffic at a standstill on major parts, but slightly past these areas, at least is a manageable kind of traffic. until you reach Utalii College, next to Utalii College, where it is now just at a standstill. In fact, not moving at all. And the sad part is that this is actually on both lanes. So that means inner lanes, outer lanes, around these areas, traffic at a standstill. But then again, around these areas also the traffic police are normally stationed as well, up and early, trying to see how best they can control traffic. And this just next to also Muthaiga police station, again one of those busy areas just past Utalii College. And the sad part is that this is just traffic again on both lanes. And also more sad is that it is at a standstill, not moving at all. So what this means also is that if you're coming from Roosters, again from Kasarani past Garden City, still using Thika Superhighway heading to the city center, then you may just have to make do with this traffic around Kenya Utalii College, because clearly as of now it is at a standstill, and around this area there is no alternative route till you reach around, where the outer ring Thika Superhighway overpass was being constructed there. But when you're around this area, then you may just have to make do with the traffic. But also, one of the other things that also leads to heavy traffic gridlock, especially around this area, sometimes it is those small-scale business traders that just sometimes tend to, sell their commodities, trying to take advantage of this traffic. So again, that could also be a leading cause of this traffic. And not forgetting the fact that also the bridge around Survey area is still under installation there. So that could also be a reason as to why there's heavy traffic gridlock. And again, not forgetting the fact that in as much as, yes, the country was opened up, it is still serving people that are coming from the outskirts of Nairobi, all those counties from the outskirts of Nairobi. So again, that could also be a leading cause of traffic this early morning hour, especially around this specific area. So as I had mentioned, there's barely no alternative route here until next to Pangani. This is next to Pangani Girls, as well as, just slightly, past the outer ring Thika Superhighway overpass. But let's look at how that area is doing so that we see if it can be a good alternative route. This is especially for those that are not yet, not yet around Utalii or Muthaiga. So this is just specifically for those that are coming from Garden City, coming from Kasarani, from Roosters. Let's see if you can use this as an alternative route. This is Outer Ring Road. You just branch off from where used to be the Allsops roundabout. So clearly you can use this as your alternative route, because along this road there's no traffic at all. This is just as you branch off from the Allsops roundabout, connecting to Outer Ring Road, going all the way to the other side of Juja Road as you head over to the city center. So this is one of those routes that you can use as your alternative route. And again, this is specifically for those that are not yet past Allsops. You could use this as your good alternative route, because actually all along coming through Outer Ring Road and joining to Juja Road, there's no traffic at all, just on some specific areas where there's a slight traffic snarl up. But even in as much as, yes, it's there, but it is also manageable. So you can use that as one of those routes. If you're past Allsops, then you can use the Pangani intersection. So let's see how Pangani is doing, so we see if it can also serve as a good alternative route for those that are using Thika Superhighway or even Outer Ring Road and joining to Thika Road. Let's see how that route is looking like. This is around Pangani, again one of those busy areas, but clearly as of now it can also serve as a good alternative route. So also what this means is that if you're coming from around Kenya Utalii College, if you are past Garden City, past Allsops, coming from Thika Superhighway, or even coming from Outer Ring Road, you may just have to make do with the traffic around Muthaiga as well as Utalii. But past that, it's a bit of a reprieve for you, because around Pangani, which is again the second route that you can use as your alternative route if you're using Thika Road, it doesn't really look bad at all. In fact, on both lanes moving at a pretty fast pace, and this is why we are seeing this green color here, indicating that there's no traffic at all, just on some specific areas, and specifically on that lane that is leaving city center as you use that road, which is around Juja Road, heading all the way to Thika Superhighway. That is just where there's a bit of a traffic snarl up. But in as much as, yes, there's traffic there, but at least it's a manageable kind of traffic. So you can use this as your alternative route. This is just as you branch off through Pangani, coming all the way to Pangani Girls, using the other side of Juja Road, going all the way through Ngara to the city center. That is one of those good routes you can use as your alternative route. But around this intersect, there's a bit of a traffic there, actually not even a bit, traffic at a standstill. But also this is one of those busy areas. So again, if you're coming from Thika Road, wanting to use this as your route, you may, as an alternative route rather, then you may just have to do slightly a bit with the traffic around this intersection. But the reason as to why also this is one of the areas where we'd expect to see either heavy traffic build up or just at a standstill, like I mentioned, is because it's again one of those busy roads. You look at this the school there, you look at some of the businesses around this area, both large and a bit of small scale businesses there. So again, that could also be the reason as to why we are spotting that a bit of a gridlock there, and in some areas just at a standstill. But even at that, still serves as a very, very good alternative route, because clearly as of now, especially on that lane that is leading you all the way to the city center, there's no traffic at all. In fact, just where there's traffic is on the other lane. That means the lane that is coming from CBD using Juja Road going to the other side of Thika Superhighway. So again, that means if you're coming from Thika Road, then you can use this as your alternative route, because the lane that is leading you all the way to the city center, there's no traffic at all, moving pretty fast. So those are the two alternative routes for those that are using Thika Superhighway and may not want to do the traffic around this route. But if you are past Pangani, then I can tell you for sure that you'll just have to do with the traffic, especially around Ngara area, because that is again one of those busy places. This just next to the Globe Cinema roundabout. But as much as yes, you may have to do with that traffic there, it's not that really heavy traffic build up there. So it looks like this morning Thika Road is not doing that bad, but just next to the Globe roundabout, traffic really building up. But also, it's basically what you'd expect to see around major roundabouts. I keep telling you all the time that roundabouts, whether major or even the minor ones, connects to a number of roads, and it is no different from this specific one. This is the Globe Cinema roundabout coming all the way from Thika Road, which is our focus this morning, especially around Garden City Mall, as well as just adjoining to Muranga Road before you get to the Globe roundabout, going again to the other side of Muranga Road before you get to the city center, coming all the way from the other side as well of this just different roads branching off from this roundabout, going again to Kirinyaga Road on the other side that leads you all the way to River Road, coming all the way from Kipande Road. So again, clearly one of those busy roads. And the interesting thing with this roundabout is that it branches off to also some slip roads. So clearly one of the reasons as to why there's normally heavy traffic buildup, and also the reason as to why we are seeing this cocktail of colors around this roundabout, an indicator that it is one of those busy roundabouts. So just as I was saying is if you are past if you are past the Pangani intersection, then you may just have to make do with this traffic there. But at least for those that are applying Thika Superhighway, the alternative routes don't look so bad this morning, so you can clearly use those as you're heading about your businesses and activities this morning around the city center. So that's that this morning in terms of traffic. Our focus just being on Thika Superhighway, specifically around Garden City Mall, because of that footbridge installation that is expected to happen between 21st and 25th of this month.
Thank you very much for that update, Traffic Marshal Ewan Dorina Range. Yes, focus on Thika Road there, and there's also ongoing construction along Ngong Road. We'll be giving you hourly updates on what is happening on our major roads this morning. But now this brings us to our interactive segment this Thursday morning on hashtag KBC Kids Talk. We're talking about empowerment. And does equitable empowerment exist, or are the current policies biased to one gender? May it be the boy child or the girl child. What is your take? We invite you to send in your comments on our official station handle at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara on Twitter, and my colleagues there is Jane at Jane Wamboy on Twitter, as well as Sam W. Njoroge there. What is your take in regard to empowerment? And do you believe that equitable and empowerment exists, or do you feel that the current policies are gender biased? That's a conversation we're going to be having with a myriad of our participants here. Some of them are going to be sharing their experiences and what they think going forward needs to be done so that we pull together boy child and the girl child. Just some statistics there before I rope in my guests who are going to be joining me live from different counties. Is that just to remind you that at the 1993-1994 World Conference there, those are my panelists this morning, my participants there. At least so far we have around 9 of them. We are going to be getting more as we proceed with this conversation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for being on board this conversation. And I was just there reminding our viewers who may be watching either live on their gadgets or in front of a television set, is that during the 1994-1993 World Conference, Human Rights, the slogan was "Women rights are human rights," and it sent a powerful message on achieving equal status for both men and women. Over 20 years on, have we achieved this, or are the current policies biased towards one gender? We're focusing on empowerment for both the boy and the girl child. Introducing my first guest this morning, who's joining me live. I am joined by, okay, fine, as we work to get our guests there online, work to get our guests online, is that we are asking you, we want to understand if equitable empowerment exists, and how does then gender empowerment affect societies. It has been said that if you educate a woman, you educate a community. But as you've seen, statistics and maybe child rights activists, who we even have some of our participants this morning, are going to be telling us if indeed we have policies that are gravitating to one gender, and then what that means for the society. Joining me live is Timothy Ekesa, who is Executive Director of CARC this morning. Good morning, Timothy. How are you?
Good morning, Regina. I'm well.
Great to have you on board, and great to have you as one of our main first participants in this conversation. We're talking about empowerment, and the question is, does equitable empowerment exist in this day and age, both for the boy child and the girl child? What is your take?
Yeah, I want to say it exists in this day and time. The problem is whether it exists in Kenya and whether it exists in most countries in Africa. But I'm sure most countries in Europe and other parts of the world, it's what you can call equitable gender. But obviously, we know that there are many policies that have been put in place by this country. There's been a lot of awareness all over globally, even as a country. But we know that the practice, again, is the problem. I don't think that we are doing our level best to ensure that we have some equitability that's between men and women in various spaces that are there, be it in government or private sector.
Mm-hmm. Now, whenever we talk about empowerment, what comes to the fore is empowerment of girls, youth, and women. And most often, proponents of the boy child feel that policies are gravitating towards, uplifting the girl child and leaving them behind. As a person who already works within that particular network in as far as child rights are concerned, what do you think that the current policies are gravitating towards the girl child and leaving the boy child, the boy child is left out?
I don't think so. The truth is that we did not have the girl child in the first place. We did not have any policies for the girl child. And I can go back because my organization I work for, CARC, we were the thematic coordinator for the girl child during the Beijing conference in 1995. And there were many issues that were being discussed about women, but there was nothing being discussed about the girl child. So we brought up a whole thematic area on the girl child. And the idea was to uplift the girl child to come to the same level where the boy is. But I know that because of the work that has been done, there's no way you can only talk about the girl without talking about the boy. But I think there might be some leaning that we talk so much about girls, but the truth is that we talk about boys and girls. But the problem is that maybe we stop only at talking. We might be having very good policies, we might be having good ideas for the girls, but do we actually put them, do we actualize them, or do we still have it as tokenism?
Mm-hmm. Now, the question is then, how then does this gender empowerment affect societies if we have it on an equal platform? When I asked you the question if empowerment exists equitably, you said it does in the first world, and you're not so sure that is a situation here in Kenya. So if it were, then how then would it affect the societies if indeed we had achieved, equitable empowerment?
Equitable empowerment is very good, and gender is about social roles. Socially ascribed roles. The truth is that if we leave one of the sexes, I don't want to call them gender, we like calling it gender, but I think to me, male and female is about sexes. If at all we are planning or we are working with one one gender, as people say, but to me I'll call it one sex, obviously there'll be an imbalance, whereby you find that in most areas there's a section of the community that is
na hizi stress anikuta mimi nikiwa kama Eunice huwa ninamtuma hata ushauri ili wajue.
It seems that we're having a mix-up there of sound. Definitely that is not you, Tim. So you can take that again. You were explaining how then, if we fully actualize this equitable empowerment of one sex, as you've said it, then where would be a society? Kindly take that again.
The truth is that if at all we concentrate on the boys or on the girls only, there's bound to be an inequilibrium in this country, because both boys and girls, they have roles in society. And the truth is that you'll find that if we don't empower, especially empowerment starts at childhood, it doesn't start in adulthood. It starts from childhood. If you don't get the girls being able to come up and the boys realizing their roles and responsibilities in society, obviously we'll have some imbalance, which we are seeing up to now. That then girls don't have clear role models to look up to. Then girls also are not involved in areas where they should be. And some of them, obviously, they end up also not empowering the children they have.
Now, let me now ask a personal question of sorts. Timothy, in your professional career, have you found yourself in a situation where you knew that there was a woman who was more competent than you in, getting that particular position, but you ended up getting it all the same? Have you had such an experience in your career?
That happens all the time. That happens all the time. It actually happens all the time, because what happens is that when there are positions, you'll find there are so many things that will prevent the woman to get the job than the man. There are some cases where even some companies ask you whether, if I told you you're a young woman trying to get a job, they ask you whether you're planning to have children. It's like, or maybe if you're doing an interview with a lady who is pregnant, obviously they'll give preference to the man, because they'll keep on saying she'll go on maternity leave the next 2-3 days or 2-3 months. So obviously, then you find there the man actually takes the job. Or where you are just seated, even if you are seated with a few women trying to decide who should become the chair, they'll always point at the man instead of looking at competencies that are there. Because there are also women who can chair meetings better.
Thank you, Timothy, for opening this morning's conversation. We're talking about equitable empowerment, and if at all it exists. Thank you very much for opening for us this conversation. The one who is watching from home or the comfort of your tab, wherever it is that you are, remember we are streaming live. That is www.kbc.co.ke. We are inviting you to participate in this conversation. Does equitable empowerment exist, or do you feel that the current policies are, gravitated to one gender, and how then this is affecting our society? Joining me live is my second guest from Kwale. Good morning. Zipporah, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Great. I'm well myself. I would want you to tell us where you're live from, as well as just give us a brief introduction of who Zipporah is and what she does in the society.
Okay. My name is Zipporah Nyawera from Kwale, sub-county Msambweni, Gombato village.
So we are talking about equitable empowerment, and the question this morning is that we are asking if you feel that we have equitable empowerment for girls, for boys, for youth and women, or is there a missing link?
Yes. Excuse me, I want to speak with Kiswahili.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nafikiria hapa katika mambo na utaratibu ule uko, sidhani kama kuna kitu kama equality kwa boys and girls na youth na women. Sidhani, kwa sababu ukiangalia mara nyingi unakuta watoto wa kike wakiwa wadogo wanaweza kuzungumziwa sana, wanaweza tetewa sana, na pia na wavulana pia. Lakini wakati wamefika wakati wa youth, unakuta sasa kuna mtu anashughulika, na pale katika youth ndipo hapo sasa panakuanga pameharibika kabisa. Ndio panakuanga ni pabaya kabisa, na mtoto wa youth ndio na sasa anaanza kuharibika akiwa pale. Kwa mfano, ukiangalia kama teenager, wakati mtoto amefika kuitwa teenager, asipobebwa vizuri na wazazi, asiposikilizwa vizuri na watu wa dini, na siposhikwa vizuri na serikali, yule mtoto anaanza kupotelea pale. Na nimeona maana, kwa mfano kama jana katika Kwale County hapa kanisa letu la FPFK, nimekuwa na vijana kama 370 wasichana peke yao, na kulingana na vile walikuwa wanazungumza ni kana kwamba siku hizi hawaelewi na wazazi hawaelewi na wao, hakuna mtu anawaelewa, serikali haielewi na wao, yani wanateta, wanasema hakuna mtu anawaelewa. Kila siku mnaongea kuhusu teenager, kila siku kuhusu teenager. So unaona sasa kama wale wakienda kupika youth, itakuwa hakuna mtu ataweza kuwaelewa na itakuwa tu mbaya sana. So ninaona hakuna equality mimi. Akija kupika mama, unakuta hakuna mtu anataka kumuelewa. Mama anakuwa anaonewa na kila mtu. Kama sio mume anamuonea ule mama. Kama sio watoto youth wakipika wakikuwa wakubwa, ule mama kwa mfano amebaki mjane, anaonewa na wale watoto wake wa kiume. Kwa hivyo ninaona there is no equality.
Shukran sana Zipporah Nyawera kwa kutupa maoni yako dhidi juu ya mambo tunayoongelea asubuhi hii ya leo. Asante sana. Tutarudi kwako kwa muda sio mrefu, lakini we take a short break. When we return, we're going to be focusing on matters of equitable empowerment.
Say all kind of things about you.
We them all. Shake up. Need to mush you and done to mush you. When your booty gon' show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times.
Full 180. Crazy.
Trago y ella la botella. Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some bop in it.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro, 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 choro. Get the party more.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya, tekenya katoto.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
The COVID-19 pandemic is reminding us once again that mental health is just as important as physical health.
Wagonjwa wengi wa akili hivi sasa wako nje mabarabarani na wanaathirika kulingana na haya maradhi ya corona. Serikali inapoangalia watu binafsi ambao wana afya zao kuhakikisha kwamba wametarget watapeleka vyakula kila sehemu. Swali langu ni kuuliza kwamba hawa wagonjwa ambao wanaugua akili wako mabarabarani kila sehemu katika hii Mombasa County, serikali imepanga nini?
Next on.
Tell me your dreams.
Nataka kuomoka.
Kuomoka?
Nataka kutajirika. Let's hope Dad gives him his job back, at least for the sake of his litter of children.
Ouch. So I want you to look after the house.
Mkwangu waga halali.
Kamau, it's just for today. Be nice to Kamau.
Sasa imeisha. Fanya hivi. Edo kunywa tumaji wewe, upate nguvu. Wewe rudi yako hata mimi narudi yangu.
You're still the same old you. Do you think my dad will just forgive you?
Well. It's Kristen.
Kwani nani unakuja hapa kuniuliza stories za Chris?
Mzee wangu alinyuri.
Washa. Hiyo ni poa.
Namaanisha alidedi.
Sidwe.
Ngima tege gaska watu tegu. Ngima te yat mugulel dangu. Ngima te manguge. Nyange begi puti nai. Lale, give me give again. Lale, Get with FM Gigo C. Get with FM Gigo C. FM Gigo C.
98.0 Kitwek FM Kegosin.
Good morning once again. If you're tuning in, this is KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya, and this morning on KBC Kids Talk, we're talking about empowerment. The question is, does equitable empowerment exist, or are the current policies biased towards one gender, be it the girls or the boy child? What is your take? And we are inviting your feedback. Remember, our official station handle on Twitter is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Ray Manyara, Jane Wamboi, and at Sam W. Njoroge there. We welcome your feedback in regard to this and so much more that we're going to be talking about in this current broadcast. Before we took a break, we had a guest, Zipporah Nyawera from Kwale County, who said that the current policies have taken care of the girl child and the boy child in their formative stage. But when they get to that youth bracket, the policies are not on ground, are not being implemented, and such. She is of the feel that equitable empowerment does not exist. What is your take? Joining me live is Betty Kwamboka, a project officer at Women's Empowerment Link, a human rights organization. Apologies for that. It seems that we do not have her online yet. We are going to be getting back
Thanks for having me.
Betty. Okay, it seems we have your audio, but we don't have your picture, Betty. Let's first work on our end so that we can get your picture and you can give in your input in regard to that. We have you on board, Betty. Good morning once again, Betty. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on board. Now, this conversation on issues of empowerment and whether equitable empowerment exists. In your line of work, what is your take?
Well, there are always mixed reactions depending on the lens you're looking at this particular topic. But from where I sit as a project officer at Women's Empowerment Link, one of our core mandates is really increasing spaces for women who aspire to hold the various leadership positions in the country. And I must confess that we've faced quite a number of challenges that are attributed to different factors. Maybe to take you through, I'd like to mention a few. Number one, the financial muscle for women has been and still remain an uphill task for women who aspire to hold such positions. Because truth be told, men beat them hands down when it comes to vying for various positions in the various spaces. Number two, I love to speak about the patriarchal society, where maybe for lack of a better word, women are perceived to be lesser beings than their male counterparts. Yeah. Someone could easily joke and say, you know, women are there to be seen and not to be heard. So that has been an impediment for women who want to rise in the ladder of leadership. Number three, and something that is very passionate to me, is violence against women and girls. I mean, we can talk and talk from morning to evening. We've seen femicides against women. We've even seen violence that is directed to women, especially those ones who want to vie for various positions in this country. And maybe what I could say this morning is that as much as those impediments are there in the society, women will always find it rough to rise, be it in the political space, in the corporate space, or even vying for, a simple position like a church chair in a particular setup, or rather in a particular religious institution. Thanks so much.
Now, Betty, before I release you, you've talked so much about issues of rising to positions of leadership and governance. And truth be told, as late as 3 weeks ago, we witnessed what was happening at the Nairobi County Hall, where an MCA was actually battered in the full glare of the media and witnesses, to say the least, because there was a political dispute therein. Now, what would be your take? In Kenya's current status, we have been unable to achieve the gender rule in our governance, especially within the Senate and Parliament. Is it that we are inept, or is it the lack of willingness to actually embrace this and go with it running? What is your take?
Thank you so much. First, what happened at the Nairobi City County Assembly was very, very unfortunate. And in the 21st century, I'm talking about the new dispensation, we don't expect our police officers who are law enforcers to behave in such a manner. And I'm not saying this simply because this is a woman leader who's involved. This cannot be accepted to any other person. Arbitrary arrests, the brutality that we saw on the glare of cameras. And then I think we as a people, especially the people who are tasked with the task of legislation, I think they lack the goodwill, because the 2/3 gender rule is already entrenched in our constitution. And that's why we even saw new positions of women representatives coming on board, so that we be able to merge and realize the 2/3 gender rule. But I would urge people in leadership, especially our leaders who are tasked in making sure that we realize the 2/3 gender rule, that it's really unfortunate that few or many years down the line after the promulgation of the constitution, we're yet to realize this. So if we want to move forward as a country, as a people, then we must make a deliberate decision to make sure that some of these requirements that the constitution mandates us to do are realized.
Thank you very much, Betty Kwamboka, there for that input in regard to what we're talking about this morning, issues of equitable empowerment. And you've really emphasized, in as far as leadership and governance is concerned, is that we have to have the willingness to pursue that. If we don't, it will just be a pipe dream. Joining me live is another guest. This is Edwin Onimi from Nakuru County, who works with Women Like Us Center to weigh in on this conversation. Good morning, Edwin.
Yes, good morning, Kenya. My name is Edwin Onimi from Women Like Us Center in Nakuru County.
Now, what is your take in regard to this conversation that we're having, the policies that are currently in place? Do you find that, they are biased to one gender, or what we want to term as one sex? And is the situation, having worked with women, is there empowerment on ground? What is the situation on ground? Because on paper, it looks very impressive, but is that the situation replicated on ground?
Well, I'll say that for a long time there have been just a lot of marginalization of young girls and women, but we are actually championing for equitability, and right now, like I can attest that we have done so a lot just to make sure that girls and women are at least equitable in terms of opportunities and resources allocations. So yes, I would agree that we don't have the equitability as per yet, but it is something that we are just kind of trying to work so hard to just kind of ensure that we are all in the same level. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Edwin, there for your contribution in regard to that. But what I'm hearing is that it sounds very good. It sounds very good in paper, but it doesn't actually meet the standards on ground. From where you sit, from a person who already works within with women and girls and with the Women Like Us Center, then what should we do going forward to ensure that we attain equitable empowerment for both genders? Edwin.
Yes. Number one, we must accept that we do not have equitably in our society, and it does not just focus on girls alone, but we just acknowledge that for a long time we have focused so much on a girl child that right now we are witnessing a shift, and a boy child is like neglected. But what is the way forward is that we should allocate equitable efforts and resources to all genders, regardless of the status and gender roles.
Thank you very much, Edwin Onimi, there for just weighing in on this conversation. Your take is that for a long time we have been focusing on empowerment of the girl child, and now with the changing trend, we're seeing as if the boy child has been lagging behind. Your take is that we should allocate equitable funds and policies to just empower all genders across board. Still keeping up with the hearing from our various participants, we'd also want to sample some of your views that we have received on our various social media platforms. And if I can just sample a few on social media, and this is being Twitter. Evans A. Aringa says, #KBC Kids Talk, there's equality in the society today. A good example is where I work before I used to be a men's work. As now we have equality at work in my environment. Thank you very much, Evans Aringa, there by sharing your feedback in regard to the current conversation that we are having. Joining me live is Mabel Nyanchama from Kajiado County. Good morning, Mabel. How are you? Good morning, Mabel. How are you? Kindly unmute your mic.
How are you?
Great. Now, we have been talking about issues of empowerment, and we've been asking ourselves this question: does equitable empowerment exist? What do you think?
Personally, I'd say that it really does not exist. I think we've really empowered the girl child so much that we're getting to forget about the boy child. Yes.
And from where you sit, I see you're live. Tell us first where you're live from before we continue with this conversation. Where are you live from, Mabel?
Yeah, I'm from Kajiado County.
Good.
Dealing with child issues. Mwanangu Sacco, it's a new Sacco that is coming up. That is going to majorly deal with children issues and women empowerment, girls, whereby we are also looking into youth matters that I've had Betty and Mama Zipporah talk about. Yeah, and we are entirely based in Kajiado County.
Okay, thank you very much. So in your opinion, even as you're working to just establish this particular SACCO to take care, of children, women, and the youth, how then do we overcome this gender problem? Because it seems it is affecting, issues of development, because policies are very good on paper, but on ground things are very different. How then do we overcome this gender issue?
Yeah, I would say that we need to provide training and unconscious bias by training our boys, by training our girls. We are so relied on training our girls that you're getting to forget our boys so much, and have a clear policy on discrimination by supporting especially women into senior roles. Yeah, this way it's going to help us be more transparent. It's going to help us implement gender neutral recruitment processes in each and every organizations.
Now, Mabel, in your career, have you had an experience where you missed out on an opportunity, simply because you felt you were female, that your gender limited your achievements? Maybe you can share that experience.
Oh, yes, I have. And I would like to actually agree with my boss, Tim Ekesa, when he said that most women always miss out on job opportunities because we are told that at the end of the 9 months, maybe this girl is going to be pregnant, this woman is going to be pregnant, and they're going to have to leave office, they're going to have to leave work because they need to go home for maternity leave, which I find very discriminating. And another challenge is that the women are less stronger compared to men, and so you get that you're denied a chance of working, something that you can do better, something that you actually qualify for.
Now, before I let you go, how has this then made you feel, and what have you done in your career to ensure that girls now have an equal playing platform in as far as job placements? What have you empowered a girl to achieve that particular dream, or what she has aspired to be?
We are trying, especially with the Mwanangu Sacco. We are trying. We are reaching out to girls. Since I spoke of Kajiado County, you know what happens there. The girls are to be seen and they are not to be heard. So we are doing our best to reach out to the girls. We are empowering them. We are talking to their parents. We are giving them reason why their girls need to go to school. We are giving them reason why their girls need to be involved in activities that are going to socially equip them.
Thank you very much. That is our guest, Mabel Nyachama, there, saying that it's a high time that we also roped in the boy child, and from her personal experience is that her being female has made her miss out on various job opportunities, but she's keen on changing this going into the future. The question is this morning is, does equitable empowerment exist? Joining me live next is Natalie Kaikai, live from Nairobi. Natalie is a student at the Maseno University and also a member of IWET. Good morning, Natalie. How are you?
For having me today.
Great. You're welcome. It's always good to have you on board. Now, we're talking about equitable empowerment. And before we delve with that issue, I'd want to know your aspiration going forward after university. What do you aspire to be?
I have so much. I aspire to be so much. I have a lot of dreams and visions for my career, for my life in general. I look forward to working in some media houses. At some point, maybe starting my own company. And yeah, that's career-wise. So yeah.
Now, in that career, do you believe that you will achieve all that, whether you're even with your gender? And have you had an issue being talked about, maybe among your peers, that they have felt somewhat discriminated for being female in even choosing their courses or even their careers?
Pardon?
Have you had an issue of discrimination because you're female, maybe in choosing your courses or, just picking or rather focusing on your aspiration? Do you totally believe that you're going to achieve that being female and such?
I believe that I can achieve all my dreams and visions. I also know that I will have challenges along the way. And yeah, they'll be there. I believe so. So far, I haven't had I've not been discriminated for being a woman and missing opportunities. I've been trusted with leadership roles before. So no, I've not yet faced discrimination.
And do you think the policies have really focused on the girl child and left the boy child behind? What's your take, Natalie?
Pardon, my network is a little...
Okay. What is your take? Do you think the policies, as we have them right now, are focused more on pro-girl child at the expense of the boy child? Has the boy child been left behind?
I wouldn't say the boy child have been left behind. The thing is, boys have not been taught how to deal with empowered women, how to interact with empowered women. And so it's like they have trouble finding their place in society with the girl child being empowered, and it looks to them like it's competition, but the purpose for empowerment is more of leveling the playground. For a long time, the girl child was left behind, discriminated. Even when you look back at the old days, some women never got the opportunity to go to school, and there's been so much discrimination. So the purpose for empowerment basically has been to level the playing field, so that both genders have the same, start from the same level. They have equal opportunities. About the boy child being empowered, it's a good thing. Women empowerment doesn't mean that the boy child should be disempowered. And also, boys, the boy child have different struggles from the girl child. So if people are looking to empower the boy child, they should also identify the areas in which the boy child needs empowerment, and not just say, oh, they've been left behind, and oh, yeah. So I think they need to also consider the boy child, and they need to consider the boy child when it comes to empowerment, teach them how to deal with empowered women, and also yeah.
Thank you very much, Natalie, for that opinion in regard to the conversation we're having this morning. I'd want to borrow something that you have said. An opinion is that boys have not been taught on how to deal with empowered girls. And empowerment is about leveling the playing field for both men and women. With that, we take a short break. When we return, we're going to be talking about the ripple effect of an unequal kind of policy that has, either favored one gender at the expense of the other. Nyongesa, when we return, we are coming to you to give you weigh in on this conversation this morning. We take a short break. We'll be right back.
You may be in the pit. You do not see how you could get out. But the good news is that you do not have to get by yourself. The Most High God is about to lift you out. He's about to turn the medical report. He's about to free you. He's about to open new doors, bringing new opportunities, new relationships.
Kupata The Pit, bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Next on
kama alivyosema Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam ni kuwa malaika Jibril alayhi salam aliwahi kumuhusia awe mwenye kuishi kwa uzuri na majirani zake, kiasi cha kuwa akapata kufikiri kuwa wajirani zake watakuwa ni wenye kumridhi.
alladhina yukadhibuna biyawmiddin ma yukadhibu bihi illa kullu mu'tadin athim.
On the next episode of
Mimi sikuja hapa kufundishwa mapishi bora.
Bingwa potea huyu. I lost. Lakini sasa mtu mzima tena alivyokosa kabisa ni kunifanya mimi kama kijakazi wake. Yaani mimi siku nyingine napika chakula, yoje sema nini? Ati mara chakula hiki sikitaki, nipike kingine.
Sema tata huyu bwana. Haambiliki.
Nafikiri ametuelewa.
Tujali kazi zenu
Next on
muongelesha foraia nikimwambianga tafadhali peleka huyu mtoto hospitali, lakini shida si kupeleka mtoto hospitali, shida ni pesa. Juu hospitali pia unailipia pesa, dawa pia unanunua. Yes, dawa zao ziko cheap, lakini kama huna hata 10 hauwezi pewa.
And around 3 to 4 years, that's when it was confirmed I am deaf. And my parents took me to a hearing school, interestingly, but I couldn't hear anything.
differently abled differently.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Wiki hii kwenye mkulima tutajifunza ukuzi wa fenesi.
Ukishakula fenesi, ile sehemu ambayo ubaki ya nje, the cover hii ya nje, ni chakula cha ng'ombe, especially wale walio na ng'ombe wa maziwa. So unakatakata vipande vidogo vidogo, unapatia ng'ombe. Kwa hivyo hakuna part kwa hii matunda ambayo tunatupa apart from the central part.
Kisha kopia watufunze jinsi ya kufuga kuku ndani ya greenhouse.
Kuku inakuanga na faida mingi kama mimi. Inaweza kuwa fermenting, inaweza kuwa mboga. Kitu ya kwanza, mayai iko, unaweza pata uzi upate pesa.
Basi ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa uondo kamili.
Good morning. We're talking about equitable empowerment and does it exist? Now joining me live is our next participant in this conversation, live from Mombasa County, Carol Mombi. Good morning, Carol. How are you?
Good morning, Regina.
Great to see
I'm well,
you.
thank you.
Great to see you. What is your take? Do you think the boy child has been left behind in as far as policies and in as far as empowerment is concerned?
I don't think they have been left behind because they have always been in power since then. But right now, I can say that the take of them being able to handle us who have been in power, it's different. It is difficult. When I take, like, for example, I'm in campus, and there was one time I'd gone to internship, and you get that I was more outspoken than the guys I was doing with internship, and we get that they were like, "Hiya, how can we deal with this lady? And she's better than us." You know, like they feel insecure, and they feel like they have been left behind. And but at the same time, it is for them to yet to learn and to come up and be on toes with us. Yes.
Mm-hmm. In your opinion, if currently, if we were to ask you this question, do you think then Kenya has achieved equitable empowerment for both girls and boys?
No, not yet.
So if you were given the resources and the funds to just rectify this, where would you start? How would you go about it?
I will start from a very tender age, mostly from from campus, where you go and try and tell the people, the students, the young people, because they're the ones who will become leaders later in life, that is this particular area where you have what can I say? There's this particular area, like in the workplace, where you have to become equal and try and work together and create an equal landscape for both genders, so that they can be able to achieve a better cause. Because if we say that we don't tell them or don't tell them at an early age, we won't be able to achieve an equity when it comes to work, when it comes to leadership. It won't be able to happen. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. It seems we have a problem with your audio, but thank you for that input. Now, as you aspire, before I let you go, your aspirations, towards your career, are you confident that your gender, or rather your sex, is not going to, hinder you achieving your successes, or are you concerned that you're female?
Actually, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned when it comes to my career, because it is male dominated, and so it is really hard for me to be able to really pass and maneuver through them. So it's going to be hard for me. I'm so sure it's going to be hard for me, only when it comes to the security.
Okay, fine. It seems, Carol, your audio is, fluctuating on and off, but thank you very much for that particular input in regard to our conversation this morning. You say that the boy child has not been necessarily been left behind, and that boys and men need to forget their entitlement and contend with empowered women for prosperity. That is Carol Mombi, who is coming to live from Mombasa County. She's a student at the University of Nairobi. Now we cross over to Nakuru County and join Nyongesa wa Maratani, who is the chair of the Nyumba Kumi initiative down there in Nakuru County. Good morning, Nyongesa. How are you?
Good morning, Regina. How are you?
Great. Good. I just want to know from your end, what is your opinion in regard to equitable empowerment? Have we achieved it or not?
Really, it is far from over or done, because you realize that from time memorial, there has been all the time about girl child all the time. So we've really forgotten about our boys, and their esteem is so down. So in my opinion,
it seems we are having a connection. Okay. Yeah.
I present they should be the role model. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you. Wamaratani, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, we've been concentrating too much on girls alone and forgetting about the boys. At the end of it, they have even failed in many achievements. Even the esteem has gone down. And as we speak now, you can realize that even in classes, when they move far or they advance their course, you find that the girls are doing better because the concentration is too much all the time on girls. And the project of empowerment, equitable empowerment, actually is not working.
So how would you address this, Maratani, if you're given that opportunity to rectify this, or rather to address this issue? How would you go about it?
First, I would like us, the whole society, to concentrate on all both sides, and more so now to revive the boy child, because for now they have been forgotten. Even the esteem has really gone down. Like even my own children, the boys all the time they feel so inferior because when they make a mistake, we are so hard on them. But for girls, you see that you are softening. So we should have to change that perspective right from our homes, in the families, before now we reach the schools or the society or the government at large, so that we can improve these things.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you a personal question somewhat. Have you felt your gender, that you being male, has given you an edge over your female counterparts in the execution of your duties?
Yes, that has been realized a lot. And I'm sorry, in fact, as I'm talking, I'm at a place of work, but I can share with you. Let me tell you, in fact, my boss is a woman. My operations manager is a woman. You see, no, in other words, sometimes I feel inferior because I don't see some balance there. And if we go for an interview, you will see that even a lady is given the first priority. But for a man, it seems like you are a hard way to go. So we don't feel well valued all the time. So it has affected us in all ways. When a woman is done something, the whole world is up. For a man, it is business as usual. Mm-hmm. So it is really affecting everywhere.
But critics have come up and said that we live in a patriarchal society and that the men have an upper hand in almost everything. Are you saying that in this day and age, in the 21st century, that it is changing? Wamaratani, is it changing?
Yeah, well, that is happening, but it's just a perception. But like now, just like I shared yesterday on our platform, the stalemate we are having in the parliament now. Now we elected the women rep, mama counties. Where are they? Where are they? You know, they should not just sit back and wait to be favored all the time. So it has come a time when they have been given a chance, they should also perform and execute. But now it has been a time of being favoring all the time. That's why the men look like they have an upper hand. But otherwise, they work hard because all the time we want to achieve what is worth for us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Nyongesa Maratani, who is live from Nakuru County, saying that he currently feels inferior because he's surrounded by women in positions of power in his office, and he thinks that things need to change and pull the boy child up, or rather elevate the boy child, given the current situation is that so much focus has been put on the girl child. We continue asking you, do you think that we have attained equitable empowerment, or if there's room for such? And what do you think about the current policies therein? Keep texting, keep sending your tweets to our social media platform. The hashtag is KBC Kids Talk, and our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 TV. Joining me live is my next guest, who is live from Nairobi, Mary Geshoki. Good morning, Mary. How are you?
Good morning, Kenya.
Great to have you on board. Yes, indeed, it's good morning, Kenya, and indeed, this is the best way to start your morning. Now, Nyongesa Maratani says that, you know, we have focused so much on the girl child at the expense of the boy child. What's your take, Mary?
I don't think that's the majority. Yes, there are women who have been favored in expense of men. But if you look at the bigger population, men still have a bigger step ahead of the girl child. So I don't agree with the statement.
Mm-hmm. So now, as you are, Mary, have you had an opportunity, or rather an experience, where you have missed out on an opportunity simply because of your gender?
No, personally, I've not. I've been maybe the favored few. But what it is, majority of the men I find, they think I get the opportunities because I'm a woman. They don't think I get the opportunities because I deserve it. So what the main problem becomes, when we are favoring women, we make it look like women cannot perform on their own. But what actually we should be doing is having an equal playground where everyone has that equal opportunity. If it's in leadership, I don't have to be in a leadership position because I'm a woman. I need to be in a leadership position because I can deliver. So we have to have this mismatch. As much as we are not much represented, how are the merits of a woman being in leadership? Is it just because of the gender or because they can deliver?
Good question. Merits vis-a-vis gender, that you're given that particular role not because of your gender but your qualifications. Thank you very much there for sharing and weighing in on this conversation this morning, where we are highlighting the issue of equitable empowerment. Now, Mary Geshoke feels that she is part of the few because she's not been discriminated upon, but she says empowerment is about leveling the playing field for both boy child and girl child. Let's hear from Habib from Busia, what he has to say in regard to this particular conversation. Habib, good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
Now, the conversation that we're getting at is that the girls are saying, well, not necessarily that the boy child has been left behind. It's just that that misinterpretation of empowerment, especially when it gears towards girls and women, is just a matter of misunderstanding, and that men have an acquired sense of entitlement. What is your take, Habib?
I want to take back that, like in Busia, we are trying to do what is called coaching boys into men, like transiting this adolescent becoming a better man in the future, training them on how to respect the gender, on how to understand that we have equal role to play, both gender, men and women. So we try to train them from the adolescent stage as they transit into adulthood. So it's good for us Kenyan to make sure that we mentor, we train our boys to understand that this can be done by both, either men or women. So if we do that, then we will not be having this kind of problem. Like in Busia, if I give an example, we have, I work with cross-border women traders, but you can see the kind of challenges, the problem they are going through when they are getting their goods from Uganda to Kenya. They are being harassed by security officers. Their goods are being seized by security officers. They are requested they are like, they have to do what the officers want in order for them to make sure that they sell their goods across. So you can see we are not yet to attain that, the balance. That is what I can say. But this is because we are not training our boys from childhood to adulthood so that they can understand we are equal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Habib from Busia, weighing in on this conversation. Your take is that we need to mentor boys so that they can come up on board and understand that empowerment is not an issue of self-entitlement, but just leveling the playing field for them as well as the girls as well. Building mentorship and mentorship for boys so that they can deal with empowered women. A conversation that has also been brought up, and also an opinion that has been shared by Carol Mombi as well as Natalie Kaikai, who says that boys have not been taught to deal with empowered girls and that empowerment should be about leveling the playing field. Now, as we are coming towards the end of this conversation this morning, let me sample some feedback. John says, I think as a society we have twisted the whole concept of empowerment. Now, these days it is more of genders competing for resources and opportunities than learning on how to coexist and share these resources and opportunities. To give us some of the closing remarks is Zipporah Nyawera, live from Kwale County. Good morning once again, Zipporah.
Nashukuru sana na nashukuru sana kwa mwaliko wenu KBC. Na nikitaka kufunga mambo yangu ninasema ya kwamba katika Kwale County sisi tunaona kana kwamba tumesahau na vijana sana. Maana ukiangalia vijana wetu ni kama wamepotea. Maana kadri na vile mnavyosikiliza kwenye runinga na kwenye maredio na kwa magazeti ya kwamba watoto wetu wa Kwale wavulana wameharibika wengi. Sasa tunaangalia tunaona ni kana kwamba sisi tumeshughulikia sana wasichana na tumeacha vijana kando. Sasa kama vile nilisema mwanzo ya kwamba watoto wa kike jana tulikuwa nao watoto wengi. Sasa wavulana walinifuata baadaye mpaka nyumbani kwangu. Kwani wewe madam unafikiriaje kuhusu sisi wavulana? Nikamwambia hapana. Hivi tunaanza kutafuta funds ili kama wiki mbili zinazokuja tuweze kukaa na vijana nao, tuweze kuwazungumzia na pia kusikia mahitaji ya hao vijana inasema nini. Maana Kwale County wa vijana wanasema wamesahaulika. Lakini tuna plan ya kukaa na wao na tutawazungumzia, na baada tukishawazungumzia ripoti yao tutakayopata tutampatia director Tim Ekesa aweze kutujibu kama anaweza kushuka huku Kwale aje azungumzie kuhusu vijana. Asante sana.
Asante sana Zipporah Nyawera kwa maoni haya yako kwamba vijana wamesema wamesahulika. Timothy Ekesa, Executive Director of CARC, what is your take in regard to that particular sentiment that has been expressed by Zipporah Nyawera, that within Kwale County, the young boys, young men there feel left out in as far as implementation of policies are concerned, especially that are meant to empower them, may it be financially or otherwise. What is your take?
I agree with her. I agree with what Nyawera is saying. Vijana wamesahaulika, sio kusahaulika, but I think kuna kazi nyingi inafanywa kwa wasichana, lakini wavulana hakuna kazi nyingi inafanywa. And why I can say is because Kwale and Kuria were two counties where the Girl Child Project started. The truth is that we've been focusing on the girls because empowering the girl is empowering the whole society. But we want the boys to also join the movement so that they can also empower. Because who raises the boys? They're the same mothers. There's no boy who is born by a father. So still, even if we say the boys are forgotten, it is because the mothers also have to raise them up the same way they raise up the boys. So
Team, some of our participants, let me interject there. Team, some of our participants, if I can just mention Natalie Kaikai and Carol Mombi, are of the feel that boys have not been taught how to deal with empowered girls, and that's why then they're taking turns and saying that the girl is now more taken care of, in terms of policy, in terms of empowerment and such, and they feel left out. Is this the situation on ground? Are they lacking in mentorship that has made them somewhat feel inferior to the girls in this 21st century?
It is true. It is true that many of the boys are lacking mentorship. And actually, to explain where are the adult men, where are the fathers? Usually, when you have absentee fathers, then the boys don't have any man figure to look up to. So the truth is that maybe the problem is not for the boys, but the problem is for the men and the fathers who are not providing the father figure that is required there. Because how many fathers are at home with their children most time? And I know most fathers will talk about their daughters and not about their sons. So the truth is that we, as a society, we need to see how we can have champions of men and boys who are supporting issues of girls and have champions of girls and women who are supporting boys issues and men issues also.
Now, just to wind up, and thank you very much for your time, Timothy Ekesa, for weighing in this conversation about equitable empowerment. Then, in your last words and in your own opinion, how then do we correct this as we come to a close?
For me, there are a few ways. First of all, we have to change the social norms that are around issues of gender. Secondly, we actually need to have gender, what I could call like gender empowered people. And thirdly, we need the media. We need the media to actually start also bringing up these narratives of what boys are doing, what girls are doing, and what role we can be able to take. Then the people who have been given an opportunity to be in charge of other people, they need to take people not based on their sex or their gender, but based on their capabilities, and give people positions because they deserve, not because we are trying to do favorism or because this organization is got all women, we want to add in one boy or one man, and this organization is all men-headed, and we want to add in one woman. And that's why, like, I was just going to ask Nyongeza as we are finishing, Nyumba Kumi is a very good initiative, but how many chairs of those Nyumba Kumis are actually women?
Good question, and we wrap it at that point. Thank you very much, Timothy Ekesa, as well as every other person who participated in today's conversation in regard to equitable empowerment, if it is achievable or not. Just to sample 2 or 3 feedbacks, if my producer will allow me there. Nancy Karetha from Kajiado says, as a society, I feel we ran ahead with the girl child and left the boy child behind. It is time to go back and pick him. While Julissa Jules says, very true, women still face many barriers despite their empowerment due to negative cultural norms, religious beliefs, and reinforced power imbalance that has adverse negative effects. So from Women Like Us centers, for a long time, girls and women have been left behind. Even so, girls' empowerment should not be the boys' disempowerment. If we can all win, then that is better. One that has sent in an SMS goes by the name of Zach. He says, as a man, we also need to unlearn some things that have brought and fueled this fight for empowerment by our girls and women. Something as simple as shouting when talking to a woman needs to change. We end that conversation at that point. Thank you very much to every person who participated in the meeting, as well as send in their feed on our various social media platforms. We are not done on Entertainment Thursday. We now switch gears and focus on entertainment with none other than my colleague Jane Wamboi. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a great day ahead.
Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze no, no, no. aikolana buso wami aukolana ilondoloze
Jerusalem. That song has been making headlines across the social and mainstream media. But thank you so much for staying with us here on Good Morning Kenya. It is Entertainment Thursday, and we always get to end the show with an artist. And this morning we have with us a gospel artist in studio. But before I let you know who he is, the hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya pale Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 TV is our official station handle. At Jane Wamboy is my handle. And of course, you can keep talking to us via those communication platforms. We absolutely appreciate you every other morning. So right now we have in studio with us msanii mmoja ambaye anajiita Brother Vuma. Brother Vuma, mambo vipi?
Nimeshukuru sana.
Karibu sana Good Morning Kenya.
Thank you.
Tuanze na utupatie your social media handles ndio our viewers can also get to interact with you pale hivi Facebook, Twitter, Instagram zote.
Nice. Kwenye Facebook utanipata kama Brother Vuma, kwenye Instagram Brother Vuma, YouTube Brother Vuma, everywhere. Just go ahead, search and look at things, and we are here today. I'm happy to be here.
Sawa sawa. So before we get into the discussion, nasikia uko na lingala hivi ukiongea hapa kule. Hebu tupe mambo kidogo. Give us something. Tuimbie kitu kidogo.
Kuimba?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kumbe sio kila chozi limaanisha na huzuni. Tena mimi sikujua kuna machozi ya furaha. Kulia nimelia machozi yameisha. Kilio changu kikufikia Yesu wangu we. Nipe machozi ya furaha. Nishangaze Baba. Kwa ushuhuda wangu watambua wewe ni Mungu we. Naam.
That is as far as my singing goes. Hatutaki kuharibu hiyo maneno hapo. Such a beautiful voice. But tungetaka kuelewa, you know, safari yako kiusanii ilianza kivipi to get to where you are. First of all, you're a gospel artist. Wewe ni msanii wa kiinjili.
Yes.
Ulianza hii safari yako kivipi?
Naam, nashukuru Mungu maana nimezaliwa tayari katika jamii ambayo ilikuwa imeanza muziki. Mamangu mzazi alikuwa anaimba kwenye kwaya. Kwa hivyo ndugu zangu wakubwa tayari walikuwa wameanza kuimba. Kwa hivyo sikuwa na wakati mgumu wa kuconnect ni music, tayari kulikuwa na wale watu wa kufuata. Nilifuata nyayo, I mean.
Ulikubidi ufanye nyimbo za kiinjili, juu familia inafanya hivyo, juu mama alikuwa anaimba za kiinjili, ama iliwaga decision yako wenyewe kufanya nyimbo za kiinjili?
Nashukuru Mungu tayari nilijipata kwa nyimbo za injili. Lakini vile niliendelea kuwa mkubwa nikakuja kujua Kristo kivyangu, personal as my personal savior. So from there ndio nikaanza sasa hii ministry as a professional and as a huduma now. Ndio maana jina Brother Vuma hapo ndio ikazaliwa. Sasa hapo nikatembea as nikitengeneza njia yangu personally now, sio ati juu ya mama ama whatever. But thank God they at least gave me the first step.
They guided you ambapo ulikuwa unaanza muziki.
Yes.
Na ulianza muziki ukiwa kijana ama ulikuwa umeshakomaa katika kimiaka?
Nilikuwa naimba tangu nikiwa high school, nimekuwa choir master, nikaenda hivyo after nimemaliza my form 6. By the way, my form 6 product. Wale ma form 4 mkae kando tafadhali.
Tumeshajua miaka yako hapo.
No, si mzee sana, ni vile tu country yetu bado inaendelea na 6. Bado ni form 6. Anaona Kenya pia ina shift it's going back to 6, and that's good. Yeah, so after school nikajaribu kufanya university kidogo nikaona wazazi wana struggle na school fees. Nikaachia nafasi wadogo wangu wa sister, at least wao wafike hata mahali nimefika. Nikatoka niende nitafute maisha yangu, and thank God I'm right here in Kenya.
Na wakati ambapo ulianza muziki, ni nyimbo gani uliweka you put out there ya kwanza? Ile nyimbo ambayo ilikusaidia ku cement position yako katika industry ya muziki?
That is from my first album na nilirekodi hapa Kenya tu, inaitwa Wafedheheshwe. Hiyo ndio wimbo ambao ilifanya watu waone ni kweli huyu kijana ana kipawa na anaweza imba, na wakani trust more na ikanifungulia at least platform nyingi. Haikuenda sana kwa market, but those people were close to me. Actually iliweka muhuri ya kwamba actually this guy has a future in music. And I thank God. Ilikuwa inaitwa Wafedheheshwe. In fact, ukienda YouTube unaweza pata tu audio. Actually haikuenda far. It was just the beginning.
Na umemention you did it here in Kenya. Mbona hukuanzia kule nyumbani?
Now nyumbani.
Hapo kuna story. Tuambie.
Now in Congo, I mean competition ama iko juu sana. I mean for you to make it in music in Congo, especially in gospel, it's not easy at all. Because uko ni kama secular ime take over somehow. So ukifanya secular, somehow you'll go fast. But gospel, hapo itabidi uwe mvumilivu.
Kabisa.
Na uwe na resources. But I thank God, huku Kenya, gospel, sijui sahi kuna vile mambo hayendi sawa, but we pray itakuwa sawa. But nikifika Kenya, gospel was on top. Nifika time za kina Kibalonza when so TV, if you kupata chance your music to play on TV, ilikuwa a whole story. But I thank God, patience na perseverance na kufocus on your purpose. Pole pole, we thank God for where we are, and really we thank God.
Absolutely.
We have made at least some steps.
Yes. Na over the years umefanya nyimbo nyingi sana, umefanya pia makolabos nyingi. Hebu tuambie kuhusu hizi kolabo ambapo unataka kufanya wakati ambazo unataka kufanya kolabo na msanii. Ni mambo yapi unaangalia katika huyo msanii, ama ni unaangoja tu kiroho upate umetumwa huko? How do you go about it?
Yes, thank you. Number one, lazima uone mtu mwenye ata add something into you. Mtu mwenye atakulea kwa level fulani. Yani huwezi fanya tu collab kwa sababu unataka kufanya collab. Lazima kukuwe na purpose. Lazima ni identify mtu ambaye yako na jambo ambalo sina, ambalo anaweza nisaidia kukua. Anaweza ni mentor both musically, both ministry wise. So lazima nione mtu ambaye ako juu yangu somehow, anaweza nisaidia kugrow mahali. Alternatively pia lazima kama nafanya na mtu, lazima nikuwe na something that I will add to that person. So lazima niangalie mtu, the way I sing, the person nataka ku become like yeye, lazima kuwe someone na picture, someone mwenye yako na qualities zenye mimi ninge desire. So that's what I look, and I thank God for my brother Solomon Mkubwa ambaye amenisaidia kwa njia hiyo. Tumefanya wimbo Machozi ya Furaha, iko hapo YouTube, na natumai mtaipata wasikilizaji wapenzi kwenye KBC.
Tutaicheza before tumalize hii interview.
Yes, kuna pia wimbo nimefanya na Soki Kalwenze ambao unaitwa Na Kuhitaji Yesu. Dada yangu, na nashukuru Mungu pia, Mungu amemsaidia, Kenya imemkubali. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa vizuri pia ani introduce kwa Wakenya, na tuendelee na tukiendelea na collab zingine nyingi zinakuja. Na ukiangalia muziki yako, ama ukiangalia ile muziki ambao unapenda kufanya, ni mambo gani unapenda kuongelea katika muziki yako? In as much as you are singing gospel music to praise the Lord, to praise Jesus, kuna yale mambo ambayo yanasumbua jamii, they ail the society so much. Ni yapi ambayo unapenda kuongea kuhusu katika muziki yako? Naam, asante sana. That's very important for every msanii out there. You should know your purpose, you should know your calling, you should know why you are singing. And for me, mi nimeitwa kufanya evangelism, to preach Jesus, and number 2, to encourage and to give hope. So mimi nahubiri Yesu, mara nyingi utanipata nikihubiri Yesu na kuonesha ukuu wa Mungu. And number 2, utanipata niki-encourage jamii ya kwamba kuna machozi ya furaha.
Kuna machozi ya furaha.
Yeah, kuna hope, there is hope.
Now also as you encourage the society kupatia jamii tumaini, pia wewe kuna wale watu ambao umekuwa ukiangalia wakati things are not looking good, wakati unasikia umepotea kidogo, unahitaji some guidance and mentorship. Ni watu gani hapo especially kimziki ambao you turn to seek mentorship and guidance when things are not looking so good for you, ama wakati una feel you need some guidance?
Naam, so right now wale wasanii kabisa, wale naweza sema na look up to, wengi wao kupata time na chance ya kukaa nao hivyo sio rahisi. Wengine na follow from far. You just follow someone. If you intentional umependa mtu, I can say people like Evelyn Wanjiru, people like Christina Shusho, hao ni wasanii wenye nimekuwa nikifollow from far. Naweza enda hata kwa event nikae hapo akiminister, mimi niko star, nasoma vile huduma inafaa kufanya. Wengi tumeinteract kidogo, but sio hiyo official ati nasema huyu ndio mentor wangu, no. Mtu nimeinteract naye karibu sana ni Solomon Mkubwa, ambaye naweza mwambia mzee, hapa nimefika hivi, naweza fanya nini, na niambie kijana hapo fanya hivi. But wengi na follow from far. Kuna wengi kina Sarake, waimbaji ambao natazama, naona vile wanafanya huduma, inanichanua na inani-inspire. Naam.
Hata before tuendelee na interview hapa hivi, kuna kijana mmoja anaitwa Otieno, anasema brother can sing. Mwambie tuimbie Kilingala kidogo. Waweza tuimbie Kilingala kidogo?
Kilingala?
Yes.
Okay. Ozanza mbena bikamwa, ozanza mbena bikamwa, Ozazambe na bikamwa. Yozazambe na bikamwa. Wacha nisiendelee sana. Tusipoteze wasikilizaji wengine.
And maybe ndo tusiwapoteze, hiyo ilikuwa inamaanisha nini? But the rhythm sound familiar, but inamaanisha nini for the benefit of our viewers?
Wewe ni Mungu mkuu, Mungu mtenda maajabu. Wewe ni Mungu wa ajabu. Yeah, just something like that.
So translate that.
Yeah.
Nasema kuna Otieno hapa amefurahi sana. So keep your feedback coming through before we get to close the discussion. Na umeongelea kolabo na Solomon Mkubwa.
Naam.
Maybe mulipatanaje na Solomon Mkubwa?
Yeah, Solomon Mkubwa kumbuka pia ni mzaliwa wa nchi Kongo. Kwa hivyo hata nikiwa Kongo bado nilikuwa nasikiza wimbo zake nikifuata. Wakati nilifika Kenya nilimtafuta, tulikutana kwa kanisa moja hapa Nairobi, Maximum Miracle, ambao alikuwa na hudumu na mimi nilikuwa nimeitwa kuhudumu. Hapo ndio tukaanza kuinteract. Baadaye after miaka 3-4 ndio tukakuja kukutana tena, tukakubaliana tufanye kazi. Alifurahia vile naendelea, akasema basi sasa kuanzia hapo wacha nikupee boost upande huu. Na nashukuru Mungu kwa unyenyekevu wake na hiyo nia ya kulea watu wengine.
Na eventually mkafanya nyimbo pamoja inaitwa Machozi ya Furaha.
Naam.
Ni nini ungependa watu wa learn from this song? Wakisikiza Machozi ya Furaha, ni lesson gani ungependa they take away from this specific song?
Hiyo song ni nzito sana hata kwangu. Hata mimi mwenyewe nikiimba ina bring back memories na uzito ambao tumepitia. Remember nimezaliwa kwa country Congo ambayo imekuwa na vita, imekuwa na challenges mob. Tumepitia, tumekimbia kwa miguu for kilometers. So life imekuwa ngumu hapo nyuma. So nikisema nipe machozi ya furaha ni kwa sababu nimeshalia machozi ya uchungu. Naam, so kwa mtazamaji nafikiri wimbo huu niliuimba kwa sababu nataka kuambia kwamba wakati unapitia machozi ya uchungu, wakati unapitia mambo magumu na unalia, kumbuka kuna machozi ya furaha. Na hayo machozi ya furaha ni Mungu ndio anaweza kukupea. Kwa hivyo nataka watu wamrejelee Mungu na waamini ya kwamba anaweza pia kuwapa machozi ya furaha.
Before tucheze hii ngoma tukimaliza kipindi, ningependa utuimbie chorus kidogo, ndio tutaanza kucheza hiyo nyimbo tukimaliza kipindi.
Nipe machozi ya furaha, nishangaze Baba, kwa ushuhuda wangu watambue wewe ni Mungu. Nipe machozi ya furaha, nishangaze Baba, kwa ushuhuda wangu watambue wewe ni Mungu.
Machozi ya Furaha right there, Brother Vuma and Solomon Mkubwa, which will be coming up in a bit. But tukimaliza kipindi, ningependa tukumbushe your handles katika mtandao wa kijamii. Our viewers can get to interact with you na waone ngoma zako pale YouTube. Very briefly.
Naam, kwenye YouTube Brother Vuma. Brother Vuma, you'll get all my music. Ziko nyingi, more than 18 videos na nyingi zinakuja. But kumbuka pia mimi ni music producer kwa neema ya Mungu, so nafanya kazi na Golden Mind Records. Search also Golden Mind Records on YouTube. Sasa tu kuna offer, tuna sign wasanii, tunawapea chance ya kugrow. So go check it there, follow the instruction. On Facebook Brother Vuma, Instagram Brother Vuma. Follow me, subscribe to my YouTube channel na Mungu akubariki sana wakati unafanya hivyo.
All right, there you have it, Brother Vuma signing out. But remember, we appreciate you for staying with us. And with that, we want to bring a Good Morning Kenya to a close. This has been an absolute pleasure having you with us from Monday through to today. We want to call it a week, but be sure to join us again next week right here on Good Morning Kenya. I am Jane Wambui, and now we leave you with Machozi ya Furaha by Brother Vuma and Solomon Mkubwa.